Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Eric.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Back in New York City after a very, very successful trip down to Austin, Texas for South by Southwest. And to recap it, I figured let's just go through a bunch of categories and say what our favorite things of this entire trip were. Is that good for you?
That's good for me. I have not seen the categories.
All right. And let's not double up on anything. If you have one answer, I will pick something totally different. Cool? Favorite app?
Favorite app, this is going to be tough for you because the reason that we went down there is we were flown down by the app Stationhead.
Shout out to our friends at Stationhead. That's Ryan and Murray and Eli and Serena and the whole team.
Stationhead is an app that we've been fucking with for a few months. And what you do is you run your own radio station using your Spotify or Apple Music account.
Very dope.
And you can also do interviews on there. You can talk to the audience that you've accrued in there.
Yeah, there's a chat room, or you can call different people, and it's honestly crystal clear. You hold your phone near you, away from you. It sounds like it's live radio. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so we were doing interviews with people like Nardwar. We interviewed Oz Cohen from 300. We interviewed Andrew Barber from Fake Shore Drive. A few others. Like it was just a
Jay
very
Worthy,
very dope app experience. And
you know what?
Yeah.
And this is not because they flew us down. This is honestly true. Stationhead was the talk of this festival. Everywhere we went, people were talking about it. They sponsored the Good Music House. It was really cool to be a part of this wave, and we're really, thrilled that they brought us down there to be advocates on their behalf.
Yeah, for sure. And also, it should be said, now it is actually open to the public. And so you can follow us on there at It's The Real. Just one more place where you can follow us and hear our voices.
If you go to the iTunes store or the App Store, whatever it's called now, you can download Stationhead for free.
Yeah.
And sign up and own and operate your own pirate radio station.
You can download it for free, but send us $500
There
anyway.
you go. You said Stationhead. I'm going to go with Uber.
Okay.
Because Uber was not around last year.
No.
So it was much easier for us to get to the airport this year. Last year, and this is true, we ended up on a separate tarmac at a different airport. We don't know what was going on. It was very strange, but I'm glad that Uber is around this year. Favorite performance of South by Southwest?
We saw a bunch, so I'm going to name a bunch.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to start with JPEG Mafia.
He was great.
Who was so intense and so good and so funny.
That was at the Move Forward Music Pigeons and Planes show.
Yeah, their 10-year anniversary for Move Forward Music.
Yeah.
And that was so intense. He hates Morrissey.
And has a song about it.
I would also say Ray Shremmerd was great. SOB RBE was great.
They were both at Fader Fort.
But if I'm being really honest with myself,
Yeah.
the best performance I saw while at South by Southwest was Desus and Mero completely dismantling DJ Envy on Breakfast Club and also on Viceland.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I would go with Just Blaze's set at the Mass Appeal Live at the Barbecue, which was at Stubbs, because we're in a conversation talking with some friends, and we hear Just drop a Beanie Siegel record, and we're like, who is rapping over this Beanie Siegel record? Beanie Siegel. So that was amazing to see because you and I had never seen him live.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about South by Southwest is that it's a bunch of industry people who have all seen everything. And so it was so nice to actually see something and be excited about it and to run over to the stage and be like, oh my God, like it's actually Beanie Siegel.
Favorite random sighting at South by Southwest?
Trinidad James.
There you go.
Trinidad James, who we saw at the Fader Fort.
Well, explain the circumstances, though.
So Johnny Nunez...
He wasn't performing.
No, Johnny Nunez comes up behind us.
Johnny Nunez is the photographer that we've had on this podcast. For anybody who hasn't heard that episode, they should go right now and listen to that.
And so the way that Johnny Nunez works is that he will position you where he wants you to be positioned. And he comes up and he's like... And suddenly Eric has Johnny's plate of food in his hand. And Johnny takes his picture of me, Eric, and Trinidad James.
Who, we've never met. And all of a sudden, we're just standing with him in between us. And Johnny's food in my hand. And
Trinidad James is like, good to see you again. And honestly, we don't remember ever seeing him.
But you know what? What a moment.
What a moment.
Captured forever.
Yeah. 3 friends hanging out in the wild, us and Trinidad James. I would say that.
My favorite random sighting would be Johnny Shipes in our hotel lobby at 4 a.m. we got back from the Good Music House, and I look to my right, and I'm like, that guy looks like Johnny Shipes, but it can't be. And he turns around, and guess what? It's Johnny Shipes with a whole bunch of water and snacks that he just bought from the lobby, and we had a half conversation with him. We got in the elevator. He was, maybe like 10 floors above us or whatever. We were on 8. And we get in the elevator, and some other dude gets on. And in the middle of our conversation, we got to our floor.
Yeah.
And that was it. Favorite conversation?
Our new friend Farnsworth Bentley.
He's our best friend.
He's our best friend.
Shout out to Farnsworth Bentley, who DJ Enough introduced us to. And, you know, you meet someone, you don't know if they're going to, like, feel your vibe, if they're going to, like, take to you. Apparently, Farnsworth is best friends with us now, which is so awesome because we figured we were just going to say hello, say, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast at some time, trade information or something. But this was, he was like, oh, you got a story? I got a story. You got a story? I got a story. You got a story? I got a story. And every time we saw him, it was all love. We saw him for like 3 days straight. It was amazing. Shout out to Farnsworth Bentley, man.
Yeah, wait, actually, is that your favorite?
Sure, that Farnsworth Bentley will be mine.
Okay, I'm going to say then our conversation with Nardwuar.
That was a great conversation too.
Our Nardwuar conversation, which was...
what part?
Well, probably the part where he told us about a friend who somehow slipped a mason jar into Jason Priestley's toilet back in like 1992.
And kept the urine.
That's it.
So there's that.
Yeah.
We also had great conversations with Mark, the Uber driver.
Yep.
Who told us about his kid's weed empire and how there's 3 different types of people that you can trust.
Well, it's three things in life.
Okay.
Yeah, so
what's
he said,
the first one?
First one is children, because they'll say, you know, you have a booger in your nose.
Okay, so they'll tell the truth, right?
Yeah. Second one is drunk people.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because there's no inhibition, right?
Right. They'll say, I love you or I hate you, and they mean it.
And the third?
The third is yoga pants.
Yoga pants. Shout out to Mark, the Uber driver.
Mark was a real creep.
And then I loved catching up with John Monopoly after 10 years. That was great seeing him at the Good Music House. That's Kanye's former manager. He manages Valet, the artist, on Good Music now. How about Jay Worthy's manager saying that he was going to fly from L.A. to our Rockefeller show at Highline last summer because he's such a huge fan and worked for Rockefeller on Jay's first album.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Breezy.
Unbelievable. Favorite flight. We had 2 flights, so you pick one, I'll pick the other. Favorite flight to or from South by Southwest.
I would say the second flight.
The one coming home.
The one coming home, because that one we were put in Comfort Plus.
Well...
And so we had extra leg room, which is very necessary when you are as tall as I am.
This is true.
Also, the fact that Questlove
was on our flight.
On our flight.
He was 2 rows in front of us.
And said hello to us.
He did, and he was like... And we let him know that Fonte was going to be on the podcast, and he was like, I can't wait until I do mine. So we're looking forward to that. Always great to see our friend Questlove.
Yeah, also we had Nur on our flight. It was like... I liked that flight because it was a lot of our friends were on that flight with us.
Well, yeah. We also... I'll pick the other flight where we flew down with another bunch of our friends.
Yeah.
That's Alchemist, Mark DeJesus, and Action Bronson.
Yeah, that whole team.
It was just unexpected to see them because I'm looking down at my shoes. I'm just like, I just want to get on this flight, get down to Austin, Texas. I don't want to deal with any other human beings. And I see these Yeezys walk up to me, and I was like, who is this? And I look up, and it's Mark, and then it's Alchemist, and then it's Action. And they're hilarious. We had some great conversation, and they invited us to their show that night, which was extremely nice of them.
Okay, my favorite part of that conversation, though, which you did not mention, is that those 3 people, 2 of them only use carry-ons every single time.
Which, by the way, that's what we do too. Just in and out. You don't have to wait for the baggage.
Yeah. But Alchemist, for some reason, always checks his luggage.
Alchemist is bougie, as everybody knows. Just a lot of luggage.
And so everybody has to wait around for Alchemist.
I want to imagine that he has matching luggage.
Yeah.
Favorite meal at South by Southwest?
My favorite meal was the one that we chose to go to when we ended up not... Like, we left a bunch of shows early on Saturday night and went home, and I had a power bar and a water, and I went to sleep.
That was it?
Yeah.
What I was going to pick was our trip to La Barbecue.
Oh, well, no, I knew you were going to pick La Barbecue.
Okay.
That's why I was like, you want to know what? I'm going to be generous here, and I'm going to give you that.
La Barbecue is the dopest barbecue.
Yeah.
Everything on that plate was just outstanding.
We had so much food.
It was unbelievable. Shout out to Oz Cohen for putting us onto that. Favorite rumor?
Favorite rumor was...
A lot of rumors at South by Southwest.
Why don't you go first? I have a great rumor that... Okay, I have 2 rumors.
Okay, I'm going to say when we were at the Good Music House, all the people who thought that Kanye West was going to show up is my favorite rumor because, guys, Kanye's in Wyoming. Kanye's recording his new album. There's pictures everywhere with him and basically all of Good Music. Kanye is not coming to hang out with us.
Yeah, no, like there were I mean, listen, it was a fun party.
It was a great party. But guys,
I would say there were 2 rumors. One was that I worked or lived at that house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because some guy came over and I'd opened up a closet to like get some water.
Yeah.
And some guy was like, you got any beer? And I go, what? And he's like, you got any beer?
Did you get him
a
beer?
No, I don't live or work here.
You're a terrible host.
And this is not a rumor.
Okay.
But
we'll still count it. Whatever.
Yeah. My favorite blind item, my favorite mystery.
Yeah. I know you're. Yeah.
Yeah, that Eric Sunderman of Noisy saw a famous rapper
correct
use the restroom and not wash his hands.
So don't shake hands with famous rappers. That's what you learned from that. Favorite quote. I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna say anything that our friend Amir Abbasi said, or anything that our friend Dom Maldonado said. Like they just dropped jewels after jewels after jewels. Two of our great friends, great industry people who are not like quote unquote industry.
My favorite quote would probably be, "Do you got any beer?"
Or wash your hands.
Yeah.
Hey. Favorite piece of swag from South by Southwest.
So everybody is trying to give you stuff at South by Southwest. I tried not to take too much. I took a ping pong paddle from the Good Music House.
As did I.
Which you were supposed to. It's not like we like stole them.
Oh. I honestly didn't know if that was allowed or not. I was like, we are just gonna like stick this under our shirts and run.
Oh no, those were like you were supposed to take those.
Thank God.
But the thing is that I was talking to a Good Music rep before, and he said that he would send us one. I said, no, I already got one. What I need is a ping pong table. So if somebody could send us a ping pong table for our apartment, that would be preferable.
Jeff, I'm going to say the Beats by Dre headphones that we were gifted at the Beats Fader Fort, which was awesome and so nice of them. And by the way, my favorite thing was when they gave headphones to Jeff, he goes, oh, great, I'm going to sell these. But
they did not find that funny.
The actual truth is that we gifted them, we re-gifted them to fans of ours. So shout out to Javier Martinez and shout out to Coldway. We gave those headphones to them. They were most excited about it, and they were in Austin, and we definitely didn't want to go through TSA and pack these into our already packed suitcases.
Right. And I mean, like, we already have a ton of Beats by Dre headphones.
We do, and we love them, and they're great.
Yeah.
We just don't need 2 more pairs.
Right.
And finally, Jeff, as we all know, South by Southwest is filled with corporations and corporate folks, and I need to know from you what your favorite sponsor is.
Well, you go first because I've got a grudge.
All right. Well, I'm going to go in an unconventional way. I'm going to say my favorite sponsor is the one and only Syracuse University, home to the Orange, who have now made it to the Sweet 16, and they did not let me down. It's been an amazing run, and we're not done yet, and it's my favorite part of South by Southwest. We were standing online at TSA while I was monitoring my phone, and man, the game went down to free throws in the last second, and then a long heave all the way full court, which did not go in for Michigan State. Syracuse won, and it made that trip home so fucking exciting, so I don't even remember the rest of South by Southwest. Go Orange!
Well, first of all, congratulations to you. I went to Boston University. I don't know if we have a basketball team.
There you go.
So I've got a grudge.
Yeah.
Last year we went down to South by Southwest, and I wanted to. My one mission was to get sponsored by Doritos.
How'd that go?
Didn't get sponsored.
No.
And so this year we were in a meeting probably like 3 weeks ago, and I said to the people, I said, oh, like we're going to South by, I want to get sponsored by Doritos, ha ha ha. And they said, well, how do we make that happen? Let's make it happen.
Which, by the way, that's not what we were expecting.
No. And so I was like, sponsored me for what? For
the meeting wasn't even for that. This is just hilarious.
They were like, I was like, what are they going to sponsor me for? Like sitting on a bench?
And they were like, yeah. So, by the way, let's make that happen.
Yeah, but it didn't happen this year.
No. So
Doritos did not have a presence down at South by Southwest.
So we're announcing a boycott today.
Today, I will no longer eat Doritos until I'm sponsored.
It's effective today, but it started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No more Doritos.
No more Cool Ranch.
Doritos don't step foot on the Upper West Side. You understand?
No more red. Whatever the red flavor is, I'm not eating it.
That's right. Jeff, on the podcast today.
On the podcast today, we have Phonte.
Phonte, whose new album is called No News is Good News. You guys may know him as the co-host of Questlove Supreme on Pandora, or you may remember him as the one-time member of the seminal rap group Little Brother. I feel like Phonte is one of those guys who our audience already knows, but trust me, guys, this is a fantastic conversation, and we're just thrilled to have it. Shouts to Phonte. Shouts to everybody down at South by Southwest. And I just want to say one thing before we get to this episode.
Yeah.
Which is, we had such an amazing time down at South by Southwest, especially because there were just dozens, and I'm not even exaggerating, dozens of people who walked up to us and said that our content, and that's our podcast, our music, our sketches, our live shows, just anything that involved us, people were so proud of us. People were so excited about what we're doing, and our content meant so much to them, and they told us that. And I'm telling you, everywhere we went, we were stopped, and you talk into one end of the microphone, and you don't know if people hear it or if it resonates with people or what. And this was such a concentrated collection of people, you know, whatever. Like, there's 100,000 people down there, whatever, but it's all music fans. It's all music obsessives. And I feel like those are the people that we talk to. And that all these people would come up to us and share that meant and means the world. So thank you to everyone who let us know. It really, it keeps us going, and it pushes us harder, and we're so happy that you guys get something out of it just like we do. Jeff, when do you want to get into this?
Right now.
Yo, what up? It's Eric, a.k.a. Lumberjack Championship, a.k.a. Rolling Trees.
Yo, what up? It's Jeff, a.k.a. Spoon-Fed Lies, a.k.a. Cap and Crunch.
Yo, what up? It's Phonte. This is my first time ever hearing this shit.
Yeah, this is a waste of time, but it's the real. Phonte, what's happening?
Yo, this is amazing. This is my first time hearing the podcast and doing the podcast. Y'all gotta understand, like, previously these guys were just sitting here and we was talking about fucking showing off apartments and shit, all nice and calm and shit, and then they just turned into damn Waka Flocka Fame on the intro. That's fucking amazing.
Yo,
man.
now listen, what's amazing is that you were in Austin yesterday, you're in New York today, and you're on your way home.
On my way home in a few
tonight.
hours. Yeah, man.
Thank you for being here for
Man,
this.
thank y'all for having me. This is fucking dope, man.
No,
Thank
you know what's really dope is that you've been getting nothing but amazing reviews on your new project, which did you expect nothing? Did you expect everything? Somewhere in between? How did we get here to universal acclaim?
Brother, listen, like in 2018, you know, this shit is like, man, it's like pissing in the wind hoping you hit a tree. You know what I mean? Like, you just never know which way the wind is gonna blow. You can have a feeling in your mind of like, yo, I really like this, and you can put it out and people are like, oh, this shit sucks. Or you can just be like, Burt Reynolds in Boogie Nights. Oh, this is the worst movie ever, and then the shit comes out and that's the one. You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
So you never know. I mean, for me, man, it's always a thing of I never want to put out something that I never put out something that I'm ashamed of, and you always want to make something you're proud of. And that's really the only thing you can do is put out something that you can stand behind it. The test comes to see if the people are going to stand behind it.
And that's art.
And that's art. Yeah. And so for me, man, this has been the most interesting project I've ever released, because for the first time, this is probably definitely the first project where I am experiencing it in real time, the same time as the audience is. So generally the way an album works, or, you know, how it would in the old days, that you would work on your record for however long, and then you have like this 3-4 month window of setup and promo and all this rollout and all this bullshit. But now, you know what I'm saying, you can do it whenever. So literally the record came out on Friday, March 2nd. I finished it and turned it in like the Sunday before that. So it literally, I had only been living with the record maybe 3 or 4 days prior to it coming to the audience. Man. So when people ask me like how I feel about it, I'm just like, well, man, like I'm still processing it with y'all.
Yeah,
like it's just I only had like a 3-day head start on hearing all this shit before y'all did. So
your project and 444 have the same rollout plan, by the way. So.
Yeah, which is no rollout. I think his rollout went a lot more successfully than mine.
Listen, but what people don't see is all the radio staff that you have here and all of your PR people that you have here. You know,
Jay-Z, like he had the outside of buses. You're on every bus just shouting about your album.
Exactly. I'm on the bus. I'm in Ubers. Like I was in Austin. I turned on an Uber driver to my shit.
Did you really?
Yo, hell yeah.
Yeah.
We was talking because they always ask, "What are you here for?" I said, "Music." "Oh, well, what do you do?" "I do this." "Oh, well, what can you do?" I'm like, "Well, listen, I'm on Spotify, I'm on iTunes, I'm on Just pull me up." And they'll hit
one
me
fan at a time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. very organic. So no, I'm yeah, the original question, yeah, I'm excited that people are just enjoying the record, and that people, it seems to be, I don't know, man, it's weird. It seems to be resonating with people in a way that I certainly did not expect. Like ever. Like it's so many, I've gotten so many calls, so many texts, tweets, everything about a record on the album called Expensive Jeans that just talks about aging and like just what blackness means as you get older. You know, when you're younger, as a black man, like you have fear of like getting robbed, getting shot, is that shit. But you know, once you cross 40 or approach 40, you're thinking about your family history. You're thinking about, you know, your health factors and like how, you know, a bad diet will take you out quicker than a bullet. Especially in, you know, we look at, you know, cats like Craig Mack and just Combat and Prodigy. And just all the people we lost, Fife. You know what I mean? It's just like shit, man. Like making it to 50 in hip hop now is like, that's like fucking holy grail shit.
You know, you shout out Combat Jack and a few others on the project, but like talk about your relationship with Combat, because as I know, you only did like one interview with him, right?
I only did one interview with him. So me and Combat, man, we were me and him, we were very much kind of, I think, kindred spirits in a lot of ways. He was like really opinionated, like really articulate, you know what I'm saying, and just like a no bullshit kind of guy. But at the same time, he was very honest, and he was also a very warm dude, you know what I mean? And so when he first started doing his blog, I would just read his stuff, and I was like, yo, this dude is like giving up some shit. Like he's talking about the Rockefeller deals, like he's talking about all kinds of, like, this is dope. So finally, when he, you know, became Combat Jack and he revealed himself and he did the podcast and everything, he was one of the people that reached out to me, and I had no idea, and this, you know, goes back to what you were asking me earlier, how are people going to receive your work? I didn't think he knew who the fuck I was. And so finally one day, it was on Twitter, this had to be back in like 2009, 2010 something, we were DMing each other, and he was just like, listen, man, I just want to let you know, man, just the listening saved my life. Like, thank you so much. It was a time where I was tired of hip hop, and I just was really looking to make a change in my life, and I bought y'all album. He was like, man, I'm telling you that just, and I was like, are you serious? He said, yeah. So from that point on, we stayed in touch. And so finally we had a show this was when I interviewed on his show. This had to be around like 2016. Yeah, it was 2016, and I was working on the breaks at the time, and we were just started with Questlove Supreme and everything, and so we were just talking. And at that time, and I think it's pretty public knowledge that him and his wife were kind of going through some stuff, and it was unknown to me. I was just talking about just kind of what I've been going through on that side, and then he shot me a look off camera, and I noticed his hand. I was like, oh shit! Like, you can hear it. And I was like, yo! I said, look, we'll talk off mic. I said, holy shit, dude! So afterwards, we talked off mic, and he was just kind of telling me some stuff, and I just said, listen, man. I said, look, bro, I've been where you've been. I've been through divorce. I said, that is, regardless of how you feel about the person, that is like one of the worst fucking things you will go through in your life, particularly if you got kids involved. I said, man, that shit sucks. It's hell. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I said, so, you know, if you ever just need to talk, call me. I said, anytime, day or night. I said, man, call me anytime. You know, I said, because when I was going through my shit, you know, I had my number I could call just if I just to you know, walk me off the edge, you know, a little bit. I said, so man, if you ever just need to rap with me, man, just give me a call, just to vent, whatever. I'll listen. He was like, man, I'll take you up on that. So over the next couple of months, we would just periodically check in with each other, and it would just be, sometimes it'd just be a text, and he was like, yo man, so this is kind of what's going on right now. What is it? You know what I mean? And we would just kind of talk through stuff. And the last time I actually saw him was it was Article Festival in Durham, North Carolina. It's a festival that they have every year, a music festival, and this was at Just Blaze's show. Just was doing a DJ set, and Combat was there, and I had been there. I think I was hosting something earlier. Me and my wife was there, and I was just ready to go the fuck home. I was like, man, fuck, I'm fucking tired of this shit. I mean, Just is the homie. All love to Just. I shout him out. We dapped up, whatever. I said so of him, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get the fuck on my couch. And so Combat was there, and so Just starts doing beats, starts like playing beats on his off his laptop or whatever, just kind of doing stuff live. And I'm like, fuck, man, Jack is here. I'm like, Reg is here. I'm like, all right, let me go. I gotta spit something. Reg is here. So I went up and I just spit some verses, and shit was dope. And so afterwards, he was just like, yo, he's like, Tay, man, thank you for saving my life. I said, man, just get the fuck out of here with that shit. Like, he's like, no, yo, thank you. Yo, seriously, man. Yo, thank you for saving my life. And, we dapped each other up, gave him a hug. I said, I love you, brother. He was like, I love you too. And that was the last time I saw him.
We all know Reggie very well, knew Reggie very well, a very genuine person. So when he says that he loves you and he says that you saved your life, he means that.
Yeah.
But you've so far said twice that people have said that you saved their life in this conversation. I'm sure there's been hundreds, if not more than that before.
I just want to make clear, like, you didn't save my life.
All right.
But does it ever get any different for you when you hear that?
Never. It never gets different. It never is something that you take for granted. It's never something. I mean, even now, like, just on Twitter, like, or Instagram, everything, like, I try as much as I can, as much as humanly possible. It's kind of impossible, but everyone that gives me a shout out or just says, yo, I'm listening to the record, I'm loving it, at the very least, I try to hit them with a thank you, just if nothing else. Just because, man, it's in a time now where the biggest thing that you can have, I think, or the biggest obstacle, in music and media, I think, just in general, just art in general, is that, we're no longer in a money economy so much as we're in an attention economy. And so it's not even about getting people to spend money on you or buying whatever. It's just about if you can get them to tune the fuck in. So if you, in 2018, if you're an artist and you can find a way to make a living and you still have an active audience in the midst of 600 channels on cable and Hulu and Netflix and a million podcasts and all this shit, if you still have people that are actually listening to what you have to say, you are fucking blessed. Whether that audience is 1,000 devoted or 10,000 or 500, whatever the fuck, man, if you got people that are really truly checking for you and are taking time out of their day and out of their lives to let you know that something you did resonated with them, you're fucking winning.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I never take for granted, especially now just because people are just, you're inundated with options. There are options everywhere. It's, just so much media, so much content. So no, man, every time I hear those stories, every time, people tell me, like, that never gets old. I listen to every story like it's the first one, because shit, it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I never take that shit for granted, man.
What do you consider yourself in terms of a profession?
Jesus Christ. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
In the interview, Tigolo rolls on the 3rd and dropped his album. Yo, in terms of a profession, I mean, I still generally think of myself mostly as a musician. I mean, that's like the main thing. But and I think that will always be the lifeline. That will always just be kind of that would always be the training ground. I've learned, and I've always told people that if you can make it in music is like New York. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. If you can make it in music, you can make it in anything. There is no business. I mean, I've worked in TV, I've worked in film, I've done, like, had my hands in a lot of pots. Thankfully, nothing is as cutthroat and as fucking flying by the seat of your pants and is unregulated as the fucking music business. Nothing. Like, in the first time, like, when we were doing the breaks, dude, and like, you get your contract and everything, and it's like, okay, you get this and you have to take breaks for this amount and like all this, you reading all the SAG shit. I'm like, okay. And then, like, I got my check and like the taxes was already taken out and shit. I was like, whoa, so this is all me? Like, this, I was like, holy shit, like, I gotta get on this TV shit. They just take care of you so much better, man. And so the thing with TV is and movies is just that it's just so, like, no one wants a lawsuit. That's the thing that I've learned just in TV and movies.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a lawsuit. So there's no such thing as doing shit for spec for the most part. I mean,
right.
if you work, you do a song for a TV show, or you do something, if you're a walk-on, you whatever, you will get something. Because no one wants any parts of a lawsuit or any sniffings of a lawsuit. They like, fuck.
But in the music business,
in the music industry, dude, like, a lawsuit, nigga, that's Thursday. That's like Birdman will have been sued 5 times by the end of this fucking podcast, and it's just another day.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so I think music has definitely been the training ground, has really been like, it gave me like the 300 training for everything else. Like, that's the one, when I started making the transition into doing TV stuff and everything, people were just amazed at the way that I was able to produce. And you know, I just saw early on that, like, if you could produce and you could produce on time and you could, you know, produce at a high level and be timely about it, you can always get work. And so so I still pretty much always consider myself a musician. I also do voices. I do voiceover. I've come on with this was January. I came aboard with William Morris, and so I'm in their voiceover department now. So you might hear me like on commercials and stuff.
Or in Sesame Street.
I was a rapping banana on Sesame Street,
which is the best,
dude. That's my career highlight. Like fuck it, like for all that.
That's what you should have told the Uber guy. By the way,
Hey, like, by the way, if you have kids, you know, I got some potassium raps for you. Man, listen, no, that was like super like. God, super highlight of my career, just being on Sesame Street, and I got more stuff I'm doing, like writing and stuff too. So I mean, yeah, man, I'm just thankful for it all, and but I think the core of it is I still see myself first and foremost
as a rapping banana.
Yeah,
as a rapping banana. That is put that on my D'Souza Miro head. That's my D'Souza Miro rainbow, the rapping banana. That is it.
So there's so many songs to talk about and so much music to talk about, but one song, and I don't know if you've talked about this.
This is my first interview I've done about the record, or I think this is the first real.
I want to go back.
Oh, let's go. Let's go back.
Can you talk about I See Now?
Oh my God. Okay, I see.
Because that's one of our favorite records, like, period. Like,
thank you,
we're
man.
talking about a time when, like, and with all due respect to paying musicians, like, we were on Napster just looking for anything.
Oh man, absolutely.
And that record spoke to us. Like, that came out, we were like, we're the only ones who have this record. And, like, you know, 2003.
Yeah, 2003. Yeah.
We have a Tape Masters
mixtape
with
the drops on it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Tape Masters.
Like, that
wow.
was just like everything to us. And we were playing it this morning. We're just like, it still sounds just as good.
Thank you so much.
There's so much life in there. There's so much humor in there. And that was you guys. That was Kanye, and that was Consequence.
Yeah, that one was that was a record that we did back in like 2003, and this is like we did it. I mean, you talk about y'all recording in y'all's studio and y'all's apartment,
kitchen,
dude. Yeah, our kitchen, dude. Our shit was so fucking bootleg back then. Like we didn't have a booth. We had just like we had bought like, you know, those things that you can get from like the mattress, the egg crates that you can get on the mattress. So we had like bought one of those and like cut it like in half and then hung it up. So it was like a kind of a, you know, a curve,
a makeshift booth.
A makeshift booth. We hung the shit from the ceiling. Like, it was so fucking jackleg, man. But that was how we did those records. And so we went to our spot, and Kanye at the time, he was in town for it was some conference they were having. This was in Durham, North Carolina, and there was some music conference they were having, man. And you know, we all knew who he was. I mean, Kanye, this is pre-college dropout. This is pre all that shit.
Yeah.
And we were like, Pooh knew who he was. I knew who he was. I knew him more so as a producer. I didn't really know his rhymes like that. I just knew him from reading him in credits and stuff. And so he knew who we were. Again, it was just another one of those times where, like, I never assumed. Like, people still are surprised when I introduce myself to them, and it's, I know who you are. I'm like, dude, I never take that for granted. I never assume.
Yeah.
I treat it like every day like it's my first day coming out. And so but he knew who we were, and so we ended up just going to the studio, and I didn't know that Cons was coming with. I didn't know that Cons was going to be on the track, and I don't think Pooh knew either. And it was like, oh, Cons. I was like, oh, okay. And so he did his verse, and like we later found out it was some verse that he had added. It was an old mixtape verse he had on some other shit, and Kanye did his verse, and then like Pooh and Cons, they went back and forth, and then I just did my verse at the end. And so after I did my verse, Kanye was like, oh man, I see why you got that verse in the source. I see why you got rhyming off. I see why you got that shit, my nigga. I see why you got, I see what. I was just like, whatever, dude. And so we left, and we did the record, and I didn't really think anything about it. I mean, we ended up leaving, and I think we ended up going back later on. I think maybe Kanye came over to Knife's crib and like played us some stuff from what was gonna be College Dropout. He had just did the at that time he just did the the
good mixtape?
No. It was the record he did for Dollar People's, the This Way joint.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And so at that time, me and Rocka and Ev, we all kind of had a running joke on between us about doing shows with him, and it's like, when did you get the Kanye?
Yeah.
So at that point, whoever you were, like if you were opening for Kanye, The goal was, can you get through your set without the crowd yelling Kanye, Kanye, Kanye? And so me and Rocket was talking. He was like, well, man, we got the Kanye, Kanye in Rochester. Well, we got it in so-and-so. And so I think Little Brother might have been like one of the few, if I'm not, I don't quote me on this, but I think we were one of the few that actually made it through without getting it. I think we might have got to like, they might have gave it to us like at the last song.
Yeah.
And after we finished the last song, they were like, Kanye, and we just see, like, you know what? Perfect timing, folks. We've got him backstage. He's on his fucking way. So it worked out cool, but we didn't get like, you know, we didn't get Sandman Sims off the stage.
God.
But yeah, that was the record, man. And, you know, I mean, and again, it was just one of those things that just happened. And
you didn't think all these years later it would matter to two brothers from just north of New York City?
Dude, I didn't think it was going to matter outside of the studio. Like, we just did it. And, you know, of course, Kanye, he went on, you know, to become who he was. And yeah, it's just one of those moments where you just kind of look back, and I'm thankful that I had a chance to do it. I'm really thankful I got a chance to just be with him kind of early in his career and see, because I think for me, it gave me a view into a life that I didn't want. And I'm thankful for that. I'm always thankful for that. I got to see early on like how he was dealing with fame, and I saw some of the adjustments he had to make, and I saw how it wasn't just it was not an easy transition for him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It wasn't just slotted glasses and leather jackets.
Those came much later in the developmental process.
Yeah.
So nah, bro, it was. I'm thankful for it, and you know, I just got to see it, and so whenever people would ask me, you know, you look at Drake, you look at Kanye, and you wish that, I'm just like, dude, I seen that. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm where I'm supposed to be. That fits my life and my being of who I am. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. That's that success, that lane of success. That just wasn't for me, and I never felt any way about it.
Let's talk about the very, very beginning. Where are you originally from?
I was raised in Greensboro, North Carolina.
What is growing up in Greensboro like?
Growing up in Greensboro was very, so funny. So the thing with Greensboro is that, and I think me and Jack talked about this before he passed. So Greensboro was the South. I mean, North Carolina's the South. But when we first came out, everyone was like, Little Brother, oh, y'all don't sound like y'all from the South. Y'all don't sound like you from this or from that, whatever. But the thing about Greensboro is that Greensboro was a college town, and it was like on the East Coast. And so you're kind of a hub between the next like major city would probably be Atlanta. So it's like if Atlanta's here, then you go up like, 5 hours, whatever, then Greensboro. And then after that, that's when you start hitting your major cities. You hit your DC, you hit Philly, New York, and so forth.
How many south of the border signs are near you?
Dude, okay, near me, none. Near me, none. Near my grandmother, lots of them. Because my grandmother lives further south in Robeson County. Dude, so south of the border, for those who don't know, south of the border is like this amazingly racist place that still stands, and it's so fitting. Yo, bro, it is so fitting in Trump's America. It is so like, I'm surprised. I imagine like tourism in south of the border would be off the fucking chain. So in south of the border is this like it's literally this little border town that sits on the border of North and South Carolina. And so what it was famous for me, North Carolina, like fireworks are illegal. Like you can have like the little bullshit sparklers and like fucking the little snake, like just the little bullshit fireworks, but like you can't just be setting off goddamn boom 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 like cannons. You can't be doing that shit. So if you want like the real fireworks, like bottle rockets and Roman candles and shit,
actual bombs,
all that, you had to
go see Pedro.
Go see Pedro south of the border, and they got the pictures up. They got hit with the big sombrero and shit. Crazy. It's so fucking like racist and hilarious.
We would drive down. Our grandparents lived in Florida.
Oh, okay.
We're Jewish, and we would stop and go see our cousins in DC, and we would make our way down I-95, and we would see just like the entirety of 95.
Yeah, man, 95. That's what you see.
That's all you see.
It's like cocaine. Like it's like every single one. You're just like yes.
And by the time you get there, bro, it's crazy. So that's what south of the border was over. That's where you went. You would go down there maybe a couple of days before the 4th, get your fireworks, and then you bring them back to the crib.
But Greensboro's a college town.
Greensboro's a college town. So for us, it was a college town, and we were kind of in the middle. So we were in the middle because of a college town. We had like a lot of cats coming from up north, heavy DC influence. We had a lot of cats coming from DC coming to school. I remember like hearing Go-Go and like thinking like, what the fuck is this shit? And then when I went to visit DC and finally saw, I was like, okay, I get it. You know, it's part of music. It was dope to me then. So so you had like a lot of college, and then you also had a lot of drug dealers because it was it was right in between.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jay-Z talked about it. Yeah,
he may have. Mr. 17.5 in Greensboro. But yeah, bro. So that was it. You know what I mean? And so when people would hear our influences, like they thought that we were very, atypical from Southern, but that was what we grew up in. Like most of all the hip hop that I grew up listening to in Greensboro, it was all East Coast shit. Like it was all, just the classic, just the Tribe, Pete and CL. There was a brother used to have a show on WNAA, which was the
Is that the
Petey
Pablo intro to?
No, not at all. Petey Pablo came much later, and Petey Pablo was just as new to y'all as he was to us. Like no one knew. I mean, all love the Petey. I mean, him have still never met face to face, but all love for Petey.
He's right back here.
Bring him back. This is what we're gonna buy your apartment to. Petey. When he came out, like it was just. Yeah, it was weird because everyone was like, so Petey Pablo, he's the new guy, so, you guys love him. How was it like coming up? And we were just like, dude, we do not know him. We just heard him last week like y'all did. It was all good. But no, one love to Petey, though, man. He was definitely a pioneer.
Did you have a big family?
Yes, I did. It was me, my mother, and my two brothers. And then me and my dad, he passed in 2016. Me and my dad weren't close. We got closer in his later years as he got older. But my mother, it was just me, and I was the oldest of two boys. And then my dad, he had like a slew of kids. So like I had like one brother. I have one brother that I just met like when he died. Like I have like it's like another one that's out there somewhere, and it's just. It goes deep. The rabbit hole goes.
How are you
deep
processing that? Because like that's a lot.
Man, you know what? It's weird. So the thing I have to tell myself, man, and me and my brother, like I have a brother. We call ourselves hood twins because we're 6 months apart. So
wait, what?
Yeah.
This is one of the brothers not from your
not
mother.
Not from my mom. Yeah. So this is my.
Okay,
So
I was doing the math, and let me tell you,
as I'm sure my mother was doing the math too. Yeah, bro. So my mom was classmates with this girl. They were friends, and so my dad. I was born in December, and my brother Kendrick, he was born. I want to say like in like June or something. I think his birthday's in like July. So we're just like a few months apart, and so he was at the house a couple weekends ago, and we were just talking. And the thing is, like when a parent dies, that's when you really begin to see who that person is. Like I don't know if you guys have seen Black Panther yet or whatever,
yes,
but,
we have,
but without like spoiling it for anyone, but. I mean, I thought the movie was dope, but on a lot of levels. But the scenes that really hit me were the scenes where he goes to the ancestral plane and he talks, and just the whole idea of the sins of the father and how your father can tell you things on this plane that he could never tell you on earth. Like that, like really fuck with me. You know what I mean? That was emotionally, that was like those were some hard scenes.
Yeah.
And so, so for me, man, it's, once he died and you just kind of learn things about his life after he passed, and you see how this affected him and how this happened and how, he maybe didn't have an outlet for this, and how did he pass that on to you, and what did that teach you? Like, it's like you're relearning yourself all over again. You know what I mean?
So you have more of an understanding of what he was going through.
Much more understanding
when he wasn't a big part of your life.
Yeah. Much more understanding what he was going through. Much more understanding of things that I learned. Just behaviors that, it's hard to unpack, man. Like, when you're young, you look at your parents as like superheroes, but then as you get older and they start to get older and they start to break down and shit, you just really see them as people, and you see that, they were just people who made decisions with the best tools that they had, and so. As a parent, for me, my boys are 17 and 12. My goal is to just use better tools than the ones that were given to me. Now that we have more knowledge of things and a better understanding. So that was it, man. So yeah, it was just that was kind of
that is something that you like because you talk about it in your album, and so that is something that happened obviously before Black Panther. Like you've obviously been kicking that around.
Oh man, yeah, dude, yeah. When I went to see it, and in the end, like I went into Black Panther just not knowing anything about it. I just kind of went in blind, like, all right, let me see this shit.
Yeah, so did we.
Yeah, and I didn't read like no reviews or nothing. And those scenes, I was like, man, like this is that's real.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are things that I just kind of been kicking around in my head. But that was life in Greensboro. It was really, college town. My mother, she worked. It was me and my brothers. And
what'd your mom do?
My mother was she was like an admin assistant. She worked in the office and like secretary. And she worked, and we were poor. I mean, we weren't like, I always ate. We always had clothes. But it was definitely times when shit got real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, we had what we needed. We never went without, you know what I'm saying? But we definitely, it was a struggle.
Did you go to a big high school or?
I went to a big high school. So the year that I graduated, I graduated middle school and was going to high school, the school that I was supposed to be going to, my neighborhood school, was a school called Dudley. Dudley High School was like mostly black school. It was like 99% high school. So the guy that it was named after, Dudley, so I don't know. You guys are Jewish, so I don't know how far down the black rabbit hole you want to go. But like Dudley's hair products, like he was the guy that like ran it.
Wow.
So it was named after James Dudley, who I think may have been his dad, but Joe Dudley is the guy with the Dudley products. But
by the way, have you seen Eric's hair?
I know,
come on.
Yo, that show, he looks more like a Pantene Pro V kind of guy. You know? but maybe some Dudleys will work for him.
He's actually a Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah. Oh, word? It's old school.
Like, the Johnson family from Johnson family from Chicago.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. The Ebony Magazine.
Let's go real down there.
Let's keep
Shout out to John
down.
Monopoly. All right. All right.
Yo.
Sorry, you were saying. Yeah.
Oh no, man. So yeah,
Again,
bro.
First time meeting us. I know. Yeah.
No, this is great. This is a real moment. This is my first time hearing it. Listen, this is a real fucking moment. This is dope. So I was supposed to go to Dudley, but the year that I graduated, they did some redistricting, and so they started busing all the kids on my side of the school across town to Page, which was like a mostly white high school. But it was mostly white, and like, but the black kids that went there were like, we were blackity black,
right?
Black. So so it was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was thankful for it because the teachers there, my English teachers there, were so hard on me, and they were so like just strict on me. And like I remember like writing papers, and one of the most like the illest advice I ever got from a teacher, you know what I'm saying, that I still even carry with me in writing rhymes and songs and everything. I had written something, and she just gave it back to me, and she was like, "Where are you in this story?" And I was like, what you mean? She was like, listen, she was like, I hear everything you're saying, you got your this and that, but where are you in it? And, and it was something that kind of I carry on because and I tell writers this, young MCs and just writers is like, don't let the facts get in the way of the truth. You know what I mean? Like you can say, hey, I woke up this morning, I got dressed and I went to work. Those are all factual statements, but that's fucking boring. That's a book report. I woke up late, you know what I'm saying? I only got one shirt to wear and I hate my fucking job. That's the truth. That's what we want to hear. Go there. We don't want to hear just a bullet point of what you did. Fuck that. Where are you in the story? And so I think I was like in 11th grade, and that really stuck when I was like, shit, that's okay. I get it. And that was just a real turning point for me.
Are you a left brain person?
Probably so. In some ways, definitely creatively, I'm definitely a left brain person.
Yeah.
In just my life, like I'm really kind of right brain and really kind of structured, and but if I opened up my voice notes or my that shit makes no sense. You would think I was a fucking Unabomber. It would make no sense at all.
So were you regimented? Were you scheduling out your days in high school? Were you like doing your homework like right then and there? Was this?
Yeah. Well, so for me in high school, my main regimen was sports. That was the thing that kept me just on point. And so for me, I was always a good student, but sports definitely kept me in. So I would play from like my 9th grade year. Like, I did football, wrestling, and track. Like, so I was pretty much running
year
round.
Yeah.
And then finally, like my 11th grade year, I think I stopped. That was when I stopped doing wrestling, and I got a job. My journalism teacher got me a job working at her husband's law firm.
Doing what?
Dude, so I was working at like a personal injury law firm. And so I'm like 16 years old, 16, 17. I was just filing. And so what it was, they were a personal injury law firm, and their biggest, they had a big suit. Like, this shit still might be going on. This is so fucking crazy. They had a big suit against Dow Corning. So this is when, back in the day, when like all the ladies were getting like the silicone breast implants, and then them shit started leaking and like just fucking them up like all the hell. The law firm I was at, they were representing a lot of those ladies. It was like this big class action thing. And so what they had me do was, you know, you just file. You just file stuff. You get doctor's notes or whatever. You look up the file number. You go look up in the library, and then you just put it in their file. And at that time, and this is like 95, 96. So at that time, the case had been going on for so long that a lot of the women had died.
Oh my
before
God.
the shit even got the trial. So I don't know what the fuck it is now. I don't know how it all shook out, but that was my job. I was just filing. So you would get, you know, that was the first time I remember seeing like pictures of women with mastectomies. Like, they would have like their pictures in there, and you just see and you read the notes. I'm like, oh my God, this shit is horrible.
Yeah.
And so that was my job. Right? You know what I mean?
I thought because you were running track, you were going to chase ambulances.
Oh,
but
nah,
yeah.
brother. Right. Yeah, I was looking at that show. I was like, oh.
That's like sex ed, like, you know.
Sex ed like a motherfucker. So, yeah, dude, I was doing that. That was like, you know, my job. And so, yeah, I just mainly just did, I just always had a job, always, you know, had extracurricular activities. Like, I didn't know, from 9th to 12th grade till I graduated, I didn't know what my house looked like until like 7 o'clock at night. Like, I never, like, the idea of coming home and just being at home after school, I never knew what that shit looked like, ever.
What were your college plans?
My college plans, I mean, for me, like, college was just something that...
Or what did you want to do?
I knew I always wanted to do music. I never had a second thought about doing anything else. My thing was always, I knew I wanted to do music. I didn't necessarily know how I wanted to get there, but I knew.
Did you know what form?
I knew I wanted to rap, just because rap was the first time I think I heard my music. And I think, I mean, is, you know, we're around the same age, where it's like there's your parents' music, but then rap is like, this is my music. You know what I'm saying? And you had a love. I mean, I'm still, at my heart, I'm still like classic soul R&B guy. Like, that's my heart. But the first time I heard Kane, first time I heard Run DMC, my uncle taking me to the Fresh Fest when it came to the Greensboro Coliseum, like, dog, it was over.
Yeah.
Like, that was my life goal at that point. It was like, fuck that. I want to do this. That's what it is. There's no question. And so all through high school, I had a buddy of mine. He was a guy that worked with my mom at her job. His name was Tony Roper. And I actually talked to Tony. I haven't talked to him in some time. But anyway, he had equipment. And so he was one of the first guys I knew that actually had a 4-track recorder. He had a 4-track. It was a Tascam recorder. This shit sounds like ancient fucking history now in the age of cats recording verses on their phone and shit.
Yeah, but somewhere Just Blaze is like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yo, dude, he's the biggest gear nerd. Like, me and him would talk this shit for hours. So, dude, he had like a 4-track Tascam recorder, and he had a sampler, it was a Roland MS-1. It had like the 8 pads on it. And so that was when I first started learning to like make beats and like record myself. And I would just make songs like in my room. I had a mic about like this. I think it might have been
this mic.
Yeah, it may have been. You know what? That may have been a step up from what my mic was. It wasn't even like an SM58 or nothing. It was just like your Radio Shack realistic mic. And so, you know, man, I would just do that. And so that was where I first learned to record myself and like what the process of making a record was like. And I mean, the records were pretty bad, but I was just learning. And so that was probably like, that was from the age, that was like 16. That was where I started.
What would you do with that music?
I would just make tapes and give it to my homies. Like, me and my homies, we had we just had a joke that just to show you like how much sex we weren't giving to teenagers. Me and my buddies had like this joke that just went on. So it's like how Childish Gambino just became Childish Gambino with the Wu-Tang thing. So me and my buddies had this thing called the Fu-Tang Clan. And the whole joke was that we were like the knockoff low budget version of Wu-Tang Clan. That was the whole thing. But then we started actually making songs, and then we started making tapes, and then we started selling the tapes, and then we were like performing in school and shit. Like it went way too fucking far, way too far. But it was hilarious. It was just, I mean, God, we would just do it, and that was it.
Was your name always Fonte, or
no? I was the Fizza, PHZA.
Wow, you really were Wu-Tang,
dude.
Yeah.
I don't break character until we shoot the DVD credits. I stay in character, goddamn.
So you performed at school though?
We performed it like, yeah, we
at your all-white school.
And they ate that shit up. They fucking loved it. They loved it.
Tapes on sale over in the back corner. Like,
hey, come get me. I think I was because you could buy like the Maxell. I think at the time it was like a CVS up street from my crib, and so you could buy like the 5-pack of Maxell 60 minutes for like, I think they was like maybe $5-6. So I just buy them, you know, sell the tapes for like $5 a piece, whatever.
But you weren't filling up 60 minutes of funk on that.
Yo, I had 60 minutes. I would record because again, we had the 4-track. And so the way I would do the math is like, okay, well, because you know when you the whole science of a 4-track is that it takes a regular tape and splits it up into 4 tracks. So a 60-minute tape gets you 15 minutes of recording time. So my math was, okay, I just need to fill up 4 4-track tapes to fill up one 60-minute. And once we get that, then I got a full tape and I could sell the tapes. So that was how we did it.
You were an indie label back then, doing everything yourself.
I was the original Rawkus. Minus the startup money.
So, and who did you model your rapping after?
For me, my biggest influence was always, as an MC, it was probably always Kane. It was more so, it was definitely Kane, G-Rap. They were like just that really fast, you know, just percussive, you know, kind of staccato style. Like that was what always.
Just do a quick 100 bars right now.
Wait, but we'll
rap.
We'll break it down.
Shout
so
out to
only have to do
Handleberries.
15.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, I can only do 15 minutes at a time on my joint. Yeah, man, those were my guys. Like Kane was like the biggest influence in terms of MCing, but then sonically, just the way I like my music to sound, it was Tribe Called Quest. Just the way their record sounded and just how Tribe Called Quest, and also I gotta throw in the Roots as well. Like they, to me, were like the extension. They were like Tribe on steroids. Like just I remember listening to Do You Want More and hearing that Rhodes, and that shit just sounded like it was in 3D. I was like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? So those were my biggest sonic influences. And MCing, it was all about Kane.
So I mean, but that's New York and that's Philly. There was no Atlanta sort of sound creeping into your life?
Really, nah, it wasn't. I mean, like I said, man, we grew up in the middle, so pretty much everything that we were getting, like to us, well, at least to me when I was coming up, the South really represented like booty music. So Luke,
yeah, sure,
you know, MC Shy D, like all like Magic Mike, all of that was like party music.
And that's on the radio, or
yeah, they would. So Magic Mike had the record. What was the record they would play on the radio? To Feel the Bass, Feel the bass, feel the bass, and it was just an instrumental with just that, and they would play it on the radio. So that was one. What was another record they would play? I mean, all the booty, right? Like My Boo and all that. I mean, those shits were classics.
Yeah.
But then, like, I remember the first time I heard they played "Tell Me Something Good" by UGK, and it just sounded like nothing else. And like, it was just, I was like, what? What is this? And Pimp just came in. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? And it sounded like nothing else. I was like, holy shit, this is dope. But again, it was, even though I'm in the South, that shit was new to me. You know what I mean? Because we were just devout listeners of, you know, Boot Camp, Beat Miners. We would get the source and look at the fat tape.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we would read the record reviews, the 5 mics, that was like Bible, but we would look at the fat tape and see, okay, what's the B-side shit? Like, where's that shit at? And we would look for that. So that was what me and my crew, that was how we did it.
But 93 Doggy Style comes out, that didn't speak to you at all?
Oh God, come on. I mean, Doggy Style was
Eric, don't be rude.
No, come on,
no, dude, Doggy Style, I mean, like, again, there were
national, that's on MTV.
That's a phenomenon. I mean, come on, man. That's, dude. Yeah, Doggy Style was like the Chronic. So one thing I specifically remember, I remember being kind of, not, I won't say ahead of the curve, but I just remember getting in early and seeing kind of the ripple effect of the Chronic. I remember there was a record store up the street from my crib I was living. There was a store called Trax. It used to be a Record Bar, but I think they were like a subsidiary. It was called Trax. And they would have, when you walk in the store, they would have like the display up front of like all the new shit that was out. And so I had seen G Thing on like Rap City or whatever, and I was just like, oh, this is dope. Like, okay, cool. And so then I came in and they had The Chronic, and I was just like, all right, The Chronic. I knew Dre from NWA. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll just give it a shot. And I remember like buying it and really liking it, but nobody was really on it. And then just, I mean, that shit became a juggernaut. Another record like that was, for me, was Ready to Die.
Oh my God.
I remember Ready to Die came out, and at the time, it was a store called Record Exchange, and that was where you could go. You know, you could sell records and stuff, but they had new shit too. And so I remember I heard Party and Bullshit, and I think my man had I think he had the single. He had the Juicy single, and I've always been on record like Juicy was not really my record. Like Juicy, when I first heard Juicy, my thought was, who the fuck is this hollering over Juicy Fruit? Because Juicy Fruit was like a staple in our house. Like I heard this shit, I was like, what? Huh? Who is this? What? And I knew Big from Party and Bullshit, so I was like, whatever. But on the B side, my man, we was riding my homie for 10. He was like, yo, but turn the shit over though, and he flipped over. And I heard Unbelievable. Oh my God, man, listen. Bruh, you would have thought heaven and earth fucking moved. I was like, holy shit. And so I went looking for the tape, and I'll never forget at the Record Exchange, this is like, when it first came out, they only had 2 copies of the tape. 2 copies. And I had to call and reserve one. And he was like, and even my man at work, he was like, yeah, I'll save it for you, man. He said, but I don't think you worry. You ain't got to worry about nobody coming by this shit. I said, boy, save me one. I went and got it. And the record came out, and I played that shit over the fucking over. And I remember going to school, tell them like, yo, man, this the shit. This is what y'all need to get on. Whatever. Cats was bumping. I think that was like Woo. So everyone was on like Woo shit that time.
They weren't on Foo?
They was not on the Foo. Our time in the sun had come to an end. But the shit changed when the One More Chance remix dropped.
Oh, come on.
Lights
with
out.
Ashanti.
Revisionist history. Dude, that shit came out, it was lights out. Like everybody, I mean, that shit went off like a fucking atom bomb, man.
You know how today, maybe not today, but like 5 years ago when people would complain that like the record company didn't ship enough records, right? They're like, well, they didn't put the physicals out there. Yeah. Imagine when Biggie like finds out that they shipped 2 cassette singles down to
to Record Exchange in Greensboro. They had 2 full albums of Ready to Die, and I had one of them, and man, I played that shit forwards and backwards. I love that fucking album. And so yeah, I mean, you know, in terms of Atlanta, like Outkast, again, cultural phenomenon. That was like, I mean, without question, like it's some stuff is almost so big. They were kind of like outliers. It's like it was Southern, but Outkast was just Dungeon Family was like a whole nother genre into itself. Like that was like, I mean,
that was future like funk, like you said,
dude,
like what was like Goody Mob doing?
Oh man, yo, Goody Mob was the first record. Well, it wasn't the first record I broke the law for. It was I broke it in this way. It was the first record, one of the records I remember breaking the law for. I drove to the store. We had a record store called, I think it was Peppermint Records. It was in Carolina Circle Mall, which was the black mall. It would be considered the black mall.
Right, the Dudley of the malls.
It is. You listen well. I like it. So that was like the Black Dudley Mall. And so I remember I had to go to school. We had to go to school one day. It was like on a Saturday. For like a fucking some student council shit. Like I was like, you know, I was super like nerd, and I'm in the student
You were in the student council, yeah.
I was in the student
You weren't
council.
just a fan of the student council.
Oh nah, brother. I was in it. I was a vested member. And so my homie Jamal, who he actually died, he died 2016 too. Rest in peace, man. He had his car. He had like a little white Ford Escort. And we were just talking. He was like, yo, man, I think that Goody Mob shit is out. I was like, it's out? He's like, where? He's like, I think it's out. So I said, man, I'm going to the mall. Get that shit. He was like, you ain't got no license. I don't give a fuck. I'm going. He was like, all right, well, just don't wreck. I said, all right. And so he let me take his car. I drove. I was like on a learner's permit, driving to buy the fucking Goody Mob album. I bought Soul Food. And again, it was just one of those records that I just put on. And I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, how do I become this good? Like, how do you get from Wu-Tang to Goody Mob? You know what I mean?
So how do you?
Trial and error. And error and error.
Yeah, so you walk the stage at graduation.
Yeah.
And you get your diploma, and then you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna
time for college.
Yeah.
Yeah, so college for me, so I grew up right down the street from A&T. A&T is like the big black college that's in Greensboro. And like literally, I mean, you could damn near throw a rock from my house at A&T. And so
But why would you want to?
Yeah.
That was exactly the point. I was like, I can't go here. Like, so my aunt, my mother went to A&T. Both my uncles, they went there. Like, it was just,
you're a legacy.
Yeah. And I was just like, man, I can't go there. I want to kind of be away from home, you know, just so I can have my own experience. So I chose North Carolina Central University, which was in Durham, which is, you know, like 45 minutes down the street. So it wasn't like going to Florida A&M, which is one school I had in mind. So it wasn't that far, but it was far enough to where I could kind of just really build my own identity.
Yeah.
And so I chose Central. And so once I graduated, man, I went straight from graduation and I was still playing football. And so I played football for Central, and I got to Central and I realized, like, this shit is not for me. Like, football, like in college, it's a business. Like, it's your life. Like, it's, you know, in high school, you kind of play it socially. It's like, I was a big kid. Like, I was quick.
Yeah.
I'd like hitting and shit. And so it was just a social thing. You play all your homies, you hang out afterwards. In college, man, that shit is a business. And
Two-a-days.
Oh, bro, two-a-days, gang meetings, like film. And like, I'm like, yo, like, I don't care this much. I don't care. Like, y'all really. And I felt like I was cheating because it got to a point I was like, man, like, there are guys here that like really love this. And I'm not. That ain't me.
What position? What position?
I play fullback. And I was just like, dude, I don't like this shit. And so finally, my second year, my coach, they had fired the coach that I came in under, and they brought in a new coach. And so we had spring tryouts on a new coach. And at that time, that was like going into my junior year. It was the end of my sophomore year. And at that time, you had to take your English comprehensive exams, and it was like mandatory. You had to take it. And so I went to the coach, and I was like, look, coach, I got my comps. I got to take them. He was like, oh, it's all right. It's cool. You know, I see you Thursday. And I was like, all right, cool. And he just never saw me again. I took the test, and I was like, you know what? Let's just part as friends.
Wow.
I'm not doing this shit no more. I just left my equipment in the locker room. I was like, you know what? It's over. And that was it.
So who are you at that point? At
that point, I was freestyling around campus and stuff. So at that time, me and my homies, Big Pooh, and also my man Sean Don, Ninth was making beats. Ninth came into my orbit kind of. We met just on some happenstance shit. He was it was moving day in the dorm, and he had a copy of The Source. And so we liked a lot of the same shit. And so like he was like, it was a Mos Def ad. He was like, yeah, this what the fuck I'm about. I was like, hell yeah. And I was like, yo, okay, like another Jedi. He gets it. I'm like, yeah. So we was tight from that point on. That was it. And so that was probably like 98, but I didn't find out he made beats until like another year.
Oh, you were just friends?
We was just homies.
Was he keeping it secret, or were you just not asking?
No, he was keeping it secret. I mean, because I didn't even think that, I just thought we were just music fans. You know what I mean? He just liked it the way I liked it. And so I would just freestyle around campus and just like in the lunchroom and, get props. We freestyle in the dorms and all that kind of shit.
Were you the nicest on campus?
Well, of course I'm the nice.
Yeah, sure.
But I will say, and guys, another brother, he's gone, man. Jesus Christ. There was a brother in my English class. His name was Claude Brown. Claude Brown, C Brown. That was Cool C Brown. That was what he rapped by. And he was in my English class, and I will never forget. He had to write. We had to do a peer review in my English class, and we just would write stuff, and the teacher would have us write, and then she'd mix up the papers and then pass them back out. And I got Claude's paper, and he had written some shit. He was a kid from DC, man, and he had written this story about like a vampire. It was this weird shit, and it was so fucking good. And I mean, this is freshman year. We're like fucking 18, 19 years old. And it was so fucking good. And I was like, we had to rate it 1 through 5. And I was like, yo, this is a fucking 5. This dude is dope. And so later I found out he rhymed. And I was like, oh shit. Like he can write. Like he got me to rhyme. And so he would rhyme too. So
were his rhymes like Gravediggers? Like
no, right. It wasn't that. It wasn't the horrorcore. It wasn't like the Flatliners or nothing. It was just super, just super like MC shit. And so he could freestyle really dope. So the two main guys on campus were me and Claude.
Wow.
And so we were in class together and stuff. And later we ended up doing a record together for a group he had called Dirty Water. But he passed in. He was killed. He was killed in 2013, 14, something like that. But yeah, so that was kind of my rep. People knew I could freestyle. They knew I could rhyme and stuff. And so once I quit football in '99, that was when it was like in '98, I want to say. That was when I was just like, you know what, man, like I want to go after what I want to do. I want to go after what I do. So I went like head first. I was in the theater department for a little while. I took some drama classes.
Knowing that would like help you build some type of personality or like put yourself out there.
Yeah, that was something. I did drama because it scared me. And I was like, I have to, if I want to get better, I have to do things that scare me. And drama was something like, because I used to have an extreme fear of forgetting my lines, you know what I mean? And that was like the scariest shit to me, like to be in a play or something and like just to think like, damn, if I forget my line, this is gonna fuck up everything. It's one thing if you're stepping on stage rhyming yourself and you're rhyming and you forget your rhyme. It's like, I can freestyle, I can bullshit, I can do whatever. But if I'm in a play and I forget my line, I'm fucking it up for everybody else on stage.
It's a different kind of team sport.
Oh my God, yeah, it truly is, man. And so I took some drama classes. And
by the way, Eric is afraid of snakes.
Are you serious?
Yes, but I'm not gonna go fuck with snakes then. Like fuck that.
You gonna go get in the snake pit?
Let that stay.
Face your fear?
No.
Well, no, I mean we're in the music industry, so you know it's all.
Well, yeah, you have no choice. You're in the snake pit already. There's copperheads all around y'all, motherfuckers. Yeah, dude. So that was my thing, man. So I did that. I did some drama classes. Me and Pooh at the time, we were making records together. Me, Pooh, Sean Don, and Knife. We had a group called Gimme. And we were.
How was that spelled?
It was Gimme, but it was an acronym because you know this is like.
Sure, yeah.
Come on now,
because you really put your thought into the name.
Hey, I
Wu-Tang Clan,
you're good. So Gimme was an acronym which stood for God, I murdered many MCs.
Wow.
Such 90s.
Yo, by the way, sort of into it.
Yeah. I'm sort of feeling it. When you started off with God, I was like, you were like spitting religious shit? Like,
no, not at all. Not at all. So we were like doing records at the time. Knife was, he was a student. I don't even know if he was a student there. Let me not lie. I think he was just on campus and living on campus at NC State University, which was like the big kind of, it was a big, white school that was in Raleigh, and they were like a big kind of tech
the Wolfpack
school,
the
Wolfpack, right? And so he was there, and so we had a little dorm room which was about as big as this kitchen.
So enormous,
humongous,
I mean, spacious,
too big,
vaulted ceilings, the whole nine.
I'm glad we have the egg crates so we can like just like you know
give it some authenticity, right? Dude. So yeah, man. So he was he had a room 308, and so he's there, and he was making music. He was the first guy I ever saw to make music, to make beats on a computer. And so up until that time, I mean, it was just all SP, you know, you were pushing buttons, and he would be sitting at the computer like clicking the mouse. I was like, what the fuck you doing? He's like, yo, this is how I make my beats. I was like, oh shit. And it was him and this other cat that ran with us, Leroy McDowell. He was the one that started. I think he kind of showed Knife how to do it, but Knife would just be sitting there, and I was like, you made this shit on that? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, fuck it. And so I had been doing beats like on my own, but once I met Knife, I was like, all right, I don't gotta do this shit. I'm good. Like I just if I made beats, I would want to sound like him, but he sounds like that already. So let me just focus on writing my rhymes. I don't gotta bother with that shit. And I was more than fine with it. And so so we just started doing stuff in Cool Edit Pro. That was the program we were using at the time.
Cool Edit Pro.
Yeah, it's now. I think now it's called Adobe Audition. I don't even know if the shit even like. I think it's still. I think they still make it, but that's what it is now. And so we were just doing records, man. We would just start doing records, and just kind of just finding our voices. Me, Pooh, Sean Don, and we would just make records that we would just go record, and that was it.
What was the first one that actually like started to hit?
The first one that started to hit, well, I thought, okay, we might have something. We had a record called The Finest, and he sampled, God, what did he sample? Knife sample. Oh man, I'll send y'all this shit.
Matume's Juicy Fruit.
Yeah. right. As he sampled You Being He by MJA. We gonna put our own spin on it. Nah, he sampled something just as R&B. He sampled, it was an Alexander O'Neal song. And it was so crazy. Like I just found the sample like a few months ago. And I texted him, I was like, dude, this is like the latest pass in the history of late passes. I just found the finest sample. He was like, yeah, man. So he sampled, what was it? Okay, he took the Alexander O'Neal sample, I can't remember the song, and then he took The Finest by SOS Band, and he chopped that and put that in the hook. And when I was thinking, I was like, well, yeah, it makes sense that those two samples fit, because they were both Jam and Lewis productions. So I was like, so it makes perfect sense that they would match. And that was like the first song we did, and we were all like, yo, like this sound like a record. You know what I'm saying? We kind of got something. And that was at the same time I found out that I was having my son.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. It wasn't congratulations then. I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do with my life? And so I called Ninth and I was like, yo, man, I got something to tell you.
The song sounds dope.
right. I'm like, man, I got something to tell you. The song is dope. I said, but I got something to tell you. And he was like, well, man, it's funny you called me. He's like, I got something to tell you. I said, holy shit. So my son is 17. His daughter is 17. She's like, I think 2 months older than my
Hood twins.
Yeah.
Hood twins.
Yeah.
We were both risking it all at the same time. So that was the first record. Gimme the Finest. That was the first one. I was like, okay, cool. And so then we broke and went to school. I mean, went home for the summer, came back. And yeah, man, we just kind of got back into it. And then by that time, this is like, you know, the end of my senior year, 2001. No, after I graduated. I'm sorry. After I graduated Central, I got a job working at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Ninth was still making beats, and we were doing, he was making beats. By this time, he was really starting to find this sound, and he was just cranking shit out left and goddamn right. And so it was a song called Speed, and originally it was supposed to be me and my homeboy Median on it, and Ninth did the beat. And so Median just didn't show up. Median was like just in the wind. I don't know. He's still like that to this day. I love him, but he's just kind of a floaty out kind of guy. But Pooh was like, he was like, I'd get on, and we was like, all right, well, let's rock. You know what I'm saying? So me and Pooh did that record, and that night, that was the first time we was just like, yo, I think we got something, and we became little brother.
Well, what is success to you at that point?
Man, I think, yo, you know what, man? Success to me at that point was just having a place to go outside of my boring fucking job where I could make music. Like, that was all we cared about. I mean, those early days, like 03, 04, 05, like, I mean, we just cut like fucking madmen just because you're just so happy to create. You're just so, you know, just for the sheer thrill of creating. And I even tell people this now. I'm just like, man, make things that you like, because that may be the only satisfaction you get from the shit. It may not. You could make the record of your life and it sells jack shit. You know what I'm saying? But enjoy that moment. Enjoy the creation of it, because that may be your only payback. Like, it reminded me of something I read in this book. I was reading a voiceover book just from like famous voiceover guys kind of giving their you know, opinions and just advice and stuff. And this one guy, he said, you know, I read for everything. He said, but you're not gonna get most of the stuff you read for. Most of the shit you read for, you're not gonna land for whatever reason. He said, but I look at it like fishing. He said, I go out and the story is not I caught 10 fish or I caught 100 fish. The story is I went fishing. That's what it's about. It's the stories. I'm out on my boat, I'm chilling, I'm drinking my beer, whatever. Did I catch something? Maybe. Did I catch maybe not. Regardless of what I caught, the fact is that I went fishing. That's the story. And so with music, it was, at that time, that's all it was. We was just happy to be fucking fishing.
Amazing.
That was it.
What was your job at Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Oh God, I was a glorified fucking assembly line worker, pretty much. So I would call work in the call center. And basically you work for state health plan, and so you were over benefits for people over the state. So any state employee, they had this insurance plan, and so they would call. And it was, I don't know, now I'm thinking about it, now I'm talking this shit. I always worked some traumatic fucking job. I don't know. So I moved on from the fucking Dow Corning, you know what I'm saying? Shit. And I moved on to cancer and shit. So dude, so this shit, like, I would get calls, and sometimes they would be cool, but most of the time they were not. And so at that time, I remember the plan had a limit. Your insurance plan had a limit of $2 million. Now you talk about fucking Obamacare and all this shit. The lifetime maximum on this plan was $2 million, which sounds like a lot of money until you need a fucking heart transplant, or until you
chemo,
get cancer. Dude. So it would be people that would be calling, and you have to explain to them. They're like, so, okay, it's like, okay, so just be straight with me. So you're telling me my wife has cancer and you're not going to pay any more money. And you just sitting on the phone with them. I'm just like, sir, I'm so sorry. Like, if it was something I could do, like, I wish, like, this is even before, like, PayPal. I'm like, dude, I'll PayPal you like $20, dude. Like, just, and you just have to explain to these people, like, we're pretty much just going to let them die. And I was just like, so after about a couple months of doing that, I was like, fuck fuck this. I ain't doing this shit no more. Like, it just, I saw like, okay, if this is what life is after graduation and you just kind of become just a working stiff and you don't do anything for you, you're gonna age very quickly. And I was like, man, I can't do this. I gotta at least go for what's mine. And my son at the time, he was young. He was like 2. And you know, I had a 2-year-old, and I didn't know how I was gonna pay my rent. I didn't know how I was gonna do it. But I was just like, man, I gotta give it a go.
What does your girl think of this, and what does your mom think of this?
My girl, she knew. Because I had quit several jobs. Like, all my jobs, I kind of...
You are great at quitting your job.
Man, I'm fantastic.
Do like a Blaze of Glory sort of thing?
I really think I should. I need to get I need an ESPN 30 for 30 on how I quit all my jobs. So I quit Blue Cross Blue Shield. Then I got this other job working like security. I was doing like security at this fucking, like, you know, like the security guards that walk areas and shit. I was doing that. I did that for a little while. Quit that job. Then I had a job working retail. Quit that job. And my girl at the time, so my last job I quit, it was actually before I was supposed to work a Black Friday. I was working at this store called Belk, which is like a Macy's, like a department store. And I was supposed to work, man. And my manager was like, all right, well, you know, we'll see you tomorrow. I was supposed to come in at something like at 5 in the morning, some insane fucking time. And I was like, yep, I'll see y'all. Yep, I'll be here. And I just went home to my girl. I went home to my girl. And I said, baby, I ain't going back to that fucking place. And she was just like, yeah, I know. She was like, I know. So at that time, Christmas was coming up. And so I've told this story before, but I just tell it just to kind of show, you know, people that, you know, this is how you can do it. This was the mindset at the time. So I knew, because you got paid every 2 weeks. So it's like, I know, okay, this Friday I got a full check coming. But then like 2 more Fridays, that next Friday, I got another check. This is like a little bit. It might be like $50, $60. So I'm just like, okay, with this check that's coming Friday, I can pay my rent. And that'll buy me some time. And then this next check will come that it might be like gas money. I pay a light bill or whatever. And I just got to get to the holidays. And so once the holidays came, we went to see her parents. I think her parents gave us like $200 for Christmas or whatever. And, you know, I was able to like pay my rent, like flip that over. And then that February, I want to say, that was when little brother went on our first tour in California. And we came home. Well, we did like, I think it was like 2 weeks or a week or something. I can't remember. And we came home with $1,000 a piece. And from that point on, that was the last time I ever worked a job.
Wow. Who was the promoter who brought you out to California?
Oh my God, I don't know who the promoter. I think the promoter, it might have been Benny B, who was the head of ABB Records, and he had us booked on like this fucking. It was, I mean, Chitlin Circuit tour. Like we played like a fucking pizza bar one time. Like we're like on this little stage and it's like people ordering pizza and shit.
They're not here for you.
At all. Bro, it was, I mean, we played some shitty fucking gigs. I mean, we did some gigs like where, God, it might have been like 5 people there. But we were just having fun. Again, this was my first time going to LA. Going on the West Coast, and I was just like, man, fuck it, we out here, like, you know, it's girls here, like, fuck it, let's just do what we do. And but that was the first time, and yeah, we came home with $1,000 a piece. From that point on, I was just like, okay, if I can make it happen this month, then I can keep doing it. And so it just, from that point on, I was just like, you know, you just go from vine to vine, just swinging each month. Man. You know what I mean? That was it.
How did Benny B or whoever took you out there, how did he find your music?
He found our music through the internet. So at this time, this is when like OK Player was like ground zero for like a lot of shit. And so
were you a commenter? You know,
just like talking shit about that? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure like if some of my homies like dug up old posts of me on like they would hate my guts. Because I was just like a young college hater. Like we hated on everything. Right. We were terrible people.
Equal opportunity hater. Yeah.
Equal opportunity hater. We hated on everybody. And so yeah, bro. So like we just started doing the first couple of records we did. It was a homie of ours, this cat named Slop Funk Dust. My homie T, he's out of Tampa, and shout big ups to him. We had just posted just songs that we made. This is before you could even post them, because this is before like, you know, Zshare and SoundCloud and all that shit. So we would just send like hard copies of our stuff to our homies, or we would like, you know, send stuff through IM. That was the big thing. And so my homie T, he heard it. And he just reached out, and I didn't know him from anywhere. He was just like, yo, man, I'm a fan of your music. I'll build like a little splash page for y'all just to put your joints up so people can hear it. And we was like, all right, cool. And so he made like a little splash page where you could click and listen to the songs in Flash. He put it up, and I want to say in like a day or two, we crashed his server. And he was like, man, I don't know. He's like, yo, like, dog, y'all crashed this shit. Like, everybody's like coming to it. I was like, word? He was like, yeah, man. Like, so we had to build like a bigger server or a bigger whatever to get, you know, the more shit. And so from that point on, the stuff just kind of started spreading. So somehow it finds its way to this cat, ID in Davis, who's out still in the Bay now. And he was working for ABB at the time. He reached out to me through another promoter that I knew in the area, this cat named Bum Rush, my homie Shaw. He reached out to me and was like, yo, ABB wants to get in contact with you, my homie Ian. I was like, all right, we'll give him my number, tell him to call me. And they called me, and I mean, that was it. We just kind of started talking, and we ended up signing with ABB. Not the most lucrative move we could have done.
Hey, you made $1,000.
Hey, and that was about all the money I saw that shit. But yeah, man. So it was, you know, it was an experience. But that was how it started.
So you're a young man. Do you know what you want from the record industry at that point?
Man, not really. I think, you know, I just wanted to make records. And the funny thing is, we were like this close to almost doing the record ourselves. And I'm kind of glad we didn't. I think we probably would have made more money on the front end, but we need that experience. And so, and I tell artists this all the time. I mean, I'm not really a proponent of the major label system. I don't think it's a one size fits all kind of thing. I mean, if you're making, you know, Katy Perry records, then by all means. But
and just to be clear, were you making Katy Perry records?
Not yet. I was more of a Jessie J kind of guy.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
That was more, I was more of a Robin
Now
record.
that you say it,
You can totally see the influence.
Super
in the
European,
that was me. So yeah, dude. So it was like, you know, if you're not that, then it's very hard to make the major label system work for you. And so, but you know, if you have that opportunity, I would say to take it, if for no reason than to demystify it. I mean, you always, you're a kid, and you know, I remember looking at records, and you know, you seeing the Def Jam logo and all the famous Sleeping Bag records, Fresh, and all this shit, and like, you know, wanting to do that. But then you get on a label, and you be like, oh man, this is not what I thought it was gonna be. So I'm thankful that we got it, because I never want to be a person that looks back and wonder what if. You know, we truly took every opportunity that was available to us, and some of them panned out, and a lot of that shit didn't. But I walked away knowing, you can know for sure, okay, I know that was not the route for me. I don't have no question. We tried it, it didn't work the way we wanted it to work, but I know for sure. And so so at that time, man, I just wanted just to make records. Like that was it. And labels will prey on that, you know what I'm saying? Not saying that Atlantic did or anything like that, but just labels will use that, you know, because as a kid you're just thinking, I just want to make my music. Like, you're not thinking that these records are essentially your retirement plan. Like, you're not thinking that, like, yo, the concept of publishing royalties and how, because again, this is me, I can't speak for anybody else in the group, but to me, like, as soon as the record is done, I'm over it. It's like, it's out, it's done, fuck it, what's the next one? You're not thinking that this shit could possibly be playing 10, 15 years from now, you know? So I tell artists all the time, man, like, treat your songs are investments. Your songs are like plants that you're planting, and it may just be a little shrub, or you may look out your window and it be a goddamn oak tree. You know, you never know, but treat them as such. Treat them, prune them, take care of them, like, own your shit, because, you know, in the music business, ain't no goddamn 401k, ain't no fucking retirement plan, ain't no help, like, it ain't none of that shit. You only get what you put in, so you have to control that stuff.
And the business was so much different back then too, because now I feel like you put something out, it can live forever because streaming is forever.
Until the rights owners take that shit off. Right. You know, that didn't happen, but for the most part,
But back then, you make something and you really did just want to move on right after you make that first record.
And that was my thought. So like, we made the listing, and I remember we had a meeting with Jive, and met another guy
up here
in New York, and I'm like, just even talking about this shit, man. Chris Lighty, he was another one, just, you know, gone too soon, and but he was super cool, and like, we met with him, and he was telling us about I'll never get the story. He was telling us about, he was like, yo, man, I love y'all record. It cuts through the clutter. It cuts through a breath of fresh, like a breath of fresh air and all this and that. And he was like, man, you know, I remember he was talking about his time at Def Jam. And he was like, man, I was at Def Jam. And he said, man, I was coming straight off the Mr. Smith album. And I think he was surprised that, I don't think he knew I was a rap nerd as much as I was, you know what I mean?
And an LL fan.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he knew. I was like, dude, like, I know what you're talking about. And he was just like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? He was like, yeah, so I did Mr. Smith. And he said, man, I was the man at Def Jam. He was like, I was the fucking prince of that. I could get whatever I wanted. He said, and so the next record I did, it was this record called Crew. And I'm like, dude, I know, bro. I had that album. Like, what the fuck? Like, Pronto and all that shit.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah.
That
like,
album.
Yeah, right. That album. And he was like, yeah. He's like, and he kept saying to me, and I know he was like, Seb, yo, I like this kid. He's like, I like this kid. I like this kid. And so I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I love that fucking album. And he was like, yeah. He said, but it didn't sell. And, you know, the point he was just trying to make was just that I saw he was just like, you can make the record that you love and it may not move, you know what I mean? And you have to be prepared for that if that shakes out. It doesn't make the record any less meaningful, but it's just, you know, you can put your heart into this and that shit may not go, you know what I mean? And I never forgot that, man. I never forgot, but they wanted to sign us, and you know, he was over there at the time, and we ended up going with Atlantic, but I never forgot that meeting with him. I remember sitting in the meeting, my manager at the time, Big Doe, he asked Wayne Williams, and I fuck with them. They were so straight up, man. Wayne Williams, like, he's super OG,
R. Kelly's guy.
R. Kelly's guy. But even honest, he was like a house music legend and chosen few DJs. And so big ups to him, my man Terry Hunter in Chicago. And so I remember my manager, because Warner Brothers was just sniffing around us at that time too. My then manager Big Doe, he asked him, he was like, well, I'm gonna just ask a question. And I just put my head out, I was like, what the fuck is he about to ask? And he's like, yeah, so when y'all think of Warner Brothers, what do you think? He asked this shit in the job meeting. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I'm just sitting there shaking my head. And Wayne, without a beat, he was like, whack, whack. But he was real. He was like, yo, and it was, so he was like, yo, anytime I see Warner Brothers logo on a record, he's like, it's whack. And for a while, that was the story. Like, cause I mean, I would buy records and shit, and Warner Brothers, like, their hip hop shit was fucking garbage. They couldn't get none of that rap. None of that shit good. Yeah. And so I respected him for keeping it. So I was like, yo, I fuck with Wayne, because that's, as a, you know, rap nerd and buyer, that was the truth. Like, if you saw somebody on Warner, you knew that shit was suspect.
You still didn't sign with them.
We did not. We didn't sign with them. We ended up signing with, and that was not us signing with Atlantic. That was kind of more on ABB's than us. I mean, that kind of.
What was your relationship like with your A&R at Atlantic?
Shit.
Well, who signed?
When we had one.
Well, who signed? Jason Flom? Who was running?
Nah, Flom. So Flom was there.
Craig Kalman?
We interviewed Craig was there.
Okay, yeah.
So man, we were just, oh God, we just came at a bad fucking time, bro. So at the time, our A&R, proper A&R, was Rob Tulo. It was Reef.
Oh yeah.
It was Reef. And so again, me, rap nerd, I'm like, yo, I know you do. I know, like, we talking like big beat records, and I'm talking to Craig. I'm like, yeah, Artifacts and fucking Double X Pies. I'm like, dude, I got all this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I know you motherfuckers. I've been reading y'all names for years. Like, I know this. And so Reef was, he was our A&R guy. And so, and I'll never forget this. He was like, we turned in the record, and he said, he was like, yo, he said, man, I love the album. He said, this album is great. He said, but the one thing I will say, he said, it reminds me a lot of Stakes is High. And I'm just, I mean, you tell me that, I'm like, shit, motherfucker, we done arrived. Like, Stakes is High. And he said, and I mean that just in the sense that, you know, you have to be careful, because for a long time, after Stakes is High, De La, that was how they got the rep as haters. You know what I mean? He said, and you got to watch that. And it was just such an eye-opening moment for me, because in all my years of listening to Stakes is High and just loving that record, listening to that shit front to back, I never saw it that way. But he was somebody who was a couple years older than me. He was in a generation kind of above me, so he had a totally different view, and he saw it in a different way. And he kind of had the foresight, I think, to see what was going to happen with the Minstrel Show, in the sense that it was going to be a record that people are going to love, but you're going to piss a lot of people off too, and it's going to take a long time for you to kind of, if not necessarily clear your name, but to give people a full understanding of what you're about. It's not just I don't like this and fuck y'all. It's just about, listen, we want to elevate the craft. You know what I mean? And so that was also the same day, coincidentally, that we were in Reef's office and we saw boxes being packed up. And we were just looking like, dude, what the fuck? So he ended up leaving. And so we were pretty much just kind of left to the, we were by ourselves. And later, me and Reef, we talked. He was like, yo, man, you just don't understand. He's like, man, shit was crazy. I had to get out. He ended up going, I think he ended up going to Shady or something, if I'm not mistaken. And big shout out to Reef, man. I haven't talked to him in some time, but it's no hard feelings, nothing like that. I know how I go.
Did you deliver your finished product to them?
To them. The miracle of the minstrel show is that it came out. And to me, that is the most, that is the thing that I carry with me just through the whole thing. Regardless of what it sold, whatever, we literally took a record out of our computers in North Carolina and said, here. And they took it and they put it out.
That's the record you brought to Jive? That's the record you brought to...
Well, you know what? Well, shit, at the time we were, when Jive was sniffing around us, we hadn't even finished the minstrel show. Jive at the time, they wanted to just re-release the listening. They were going to clear all the samples on the listening. Wow. And even them saying that, I was like, yeah, right. Wait till you find out what the fuck we sampled. And so they were just going to clear all the samples on the listening and then put it back out. They wanted to do a re-release.
Oh, my God.
And we were just like, no, like it's shit. Because again, we're over the record. Like it should have been out like a year that. So we like, whatever. So they want to re-release it and then, put us on tour and do all this shit. But by the time we got to Atlantic, we were just like, look, we were well into it. So we signed, I want to say in 2004, and then we finished the record, I want to say sometime in 2005, I want to say something. But yeah, and so Guru mixed it, but everything, everything from the skits to the layout, to everything, that was all us.
Wow.
And they took it and they took a gamble on it. And I always be thankful for that.
Where were you when you found out that the Source had given it 4.5 mics and then took a half mic away?
Man, where was I? I was here. Was we in New York?
At our apartment?
Actually, yeah. This used to be something else. Nah, man. Yeah, I want to say I was here. We were at Atlanta. This is when Atlanta used to be on Broadway 6.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. 50th and
50th and 6th, right there. Yeah. So it used to be there, and so if you remember, it was it was like a record store. Was it like a Blockbuster Music? It was not Blockbuster. It was a record store that was right there on that corner in the same building. I can't remember what it was. But I want to say it was around that same time, man, that we were just up here. I think we were doing press or something. And my manager, Doe, he was just like, man, he was like, man, they tripping. I was like, what you talking about? He was like, well, man, so apparently what it was, the record was Jeezy's record that came out at the same time, Thug Motivation, which I think is a classic record. I think Time is for what I remember when that record came out, and every downtown locker room store you went into, Jeezy was fucking he was the man
everywhere.
Yeah, that record was everywhere. And so at the time, I want to say the rating that they gave it, or the editors gave Jeezy, was 3.5, and I was like, shit, but they gave us 4.5. And so it wasn't popular for us to get a higher rating than him because, he was the fucking man.
Right.
You know what I mean? So as I understood, as it was told to me by my man Fahim Ratcliffe, that was the big point of contention. He wanted to give it, I want to say he actually thought it was a 5, and then it went to a 4. And that was what he walked out over, but then they ended up giving it a 4.5. You know what I mean? So, man, it was just one of those things where you just learn very quickly just how political the shit is. I remember being in meetings and they were talking about the Lil Kim album. Classic. The Naked Truth. Classic. And it got 5 mics.
Which...
But that's
come on,
and
but you weren't sleeping with Dave Mays.
I was not sleeping with Dave Mays.
That might have been your.
Maybe that's what it took, and if that's what it took, goddamn it, I'm happy with 4.5. But I remember hearing how, and they were just so casual, Kim's about to get 5, and this and that, and it was just, you imagine just as a kid that grew up, of the Source is your Bible, to hear this shit, they're gonna get 5 because XYZ and so on and so on. You just oh my God, dude, it's nothing sacred. It's nothing sacred.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So that was a crazy time. Like that was a time that, like I said, that was boot camp. It was boot camp. It was training for everything, and just going through that scrutiny, going through just, you know, the fire of just the criticism and the misunderstanding, and like feeling like a failure. Like I mean, I tell people all the time, like, you know, we did. I think the Men's Show ended up doing like 100,000 records or something like that, and I mean, you would have thought we damn failed. You would have think we bankrupted motherfuckers' pensions or some shit. You know what I mean?
You killed Ahmet Ertegun.
You know, right? Me personally. You know what I mean? Like Ahmet lies here, right next to the Ray Charles records, because Men's Show flopped.
I murdered
many MCs, many executives.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ahmet Ertegun was one of them. Yeah, dude. Like but you sell 100,000 records and they think you fail. You know what I mean? You feel like a failure, but now let somebody sell 100,000 pure, not stream, not none of this bullshit, or 100,000 pieces of media or downloads or whatever in 2018. I'll throw you a fucking parade.
If you do that in like 3 weeks, they'll be happy. Like,
man, listen, like for real. So yeah, it was a learning experience, man, and it was really tough.
I want you to tell your worst BET meeting, and then we'll tell ours.
Yeah, man. Well, you know what? So
we have a good one.
Funny thing, I never really had a BET meeting. Like by the time, so when all this shit jumped off with Loving It, and we had got word that apparently they had said we were too intelligent and all this shit, I was just like, by that point, man, honestly, I was just fucking over it. I was just like, dude, let's just go on the road. Let's just get this money. Like, fuck this shit. I was just fucking tired. And so we never officially had a meeting. So when it came up, we actually did, they called me to do the Cypher, the BET Cypher in 2007. And my homie did T-shirts. I had a homie, he made T-shirts. And I was just like, I said, yo, man, I need you to make me a T-shirt. And he was like, all right, cool. He said, what you need? I said, you know what I need. And he was like, all right. So he made me a T-shirt. And, you know, we got to the awards and shit, walked the red carpet and shit. And we get in, we sit in our seats, and I see Stephen Hill. And I'm like, yo, what's up, man? What's up? He's like, what's going on, man? What's up? And I open my jacket, and I have on a shirt that says Too Intelligent. And he was just like, oh, you wild for that. You wild for that. And so that was it. But yeah, I never had like official meetings. Like by the time I actually did have like, I went up there, it was like way after the album was done and out. And I went up there and I just took a picture by the logo. And I was like, I tweeted, I was like, this is Phonte reporting live from behind enemy territory. And like, that shit was like, it went kind of crazy.
Actually, that's why you're friends with Andreas Hale.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
Our stories, like me and the dude, that's a whole his BET story. But that was the thing. So when that happened, there's another instance of where you never know what the common experience is. So once my shit happened, dude, I started getting hit up from everybody. I started getting up from everybody, people that formerly worked there. They was like, no, Tay, like, you not crazy. Andreas is one of them. That's like, yo, that's my brother. That's my man. Yeah. He was like, Tay, he's like, no, you're not crazy. He was like, man, you don't understand how fucked up shit is over here. And he was just running it all down. I was like, God damn. So yeah, that was a crazy time, man.
All right, well, we have our BET story.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
2011. So we started out doing sketches, like weekly SNL type sketches about hip hop, right? Like, so everything having to do with like topical stuff that was going on. Every week we would do a new fresh sketch every Monday morning at 9:00. And we got the attention of BET. They were just like, we're very popular online. They're like, let's have you in for a meeting. So the number 2 guy over there under Stephen Hill was like, will you please come meet with the head of development? We're like, of course. So we go down there to 57th Street.
Okay.
And we go up to her office, and we're sitting in the lobby on the BET floor, and all the interns are walking by, and they're like, it's the real, oh my God, like, what's up, what's up? And we're like, okay, cool, this is great. And then they call us down to this woman's office. We sit down. First thing she says is, why do you think that you are able to comment on my culture? And we were like,
she goes, what gives you the right?
Oh, what gives you the right?
What gives you the right to comment on my culture?
Well.
We were like, all right. And like, you know, obviously we know how to handle that question. And, you know, so Eric starts talking about.
Well, I had said, like, look, like, our obsessiveness with like hip hop, our love of hip hop, our knowledge of hip hop goes way back. Like, I remember just, you know, falling in love with hip hop, the days of like Arrested Development. And she goes, I love that show.
And we were like,
wow.
we also love that show.
Wow.
Yeah, no, the group.
The actual group. Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
I love that show. Yo, and this is a black woman?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Shit, I ain't never watched Arrested Development, not the show. Wow.
Yeah.
But you know what? But that doesn't surprise me, man. Like, and this is a conversation that like me and Amira will have just a lot of times about how, like, people don't realize how conservative like black people are. Like, I mean, like you see. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, black youth drive the culture and they drive hip hop, and you see like all these cats popping, whatever. But like their parents are like secretly some of the most make America great again motherfuckers you ever will. Like, I have a friend of mine, a friend of mine that's a lawyer. No, dude, like yo, bro. So a friend of mine that's a lawyer. And, you know, we just chop it up. She talks about, like, jury selection and shit.
Yeah.
And she said, she was like, listen, she's like, I love, you know, my people, everything. She said, but if ever, you know, when we're going through jury selection, she says the people that I always try to get dismissed are older black men. She said older black men are just, because there's like a hardness there, which I get as an aging black man. I'm not quite older, but you know, but I get how that mentality comes, but because it becomes of, if you're an older black man and you just went through hell to get where you are, and you see this 17-year-old kid fucking off, your mentality is, oh well, shit, and you know, I didn't do that shit, and I would, you know, and so there's kind of a hardness is there, and so there's not really a lot of compassion. It's like, well, I made it, why the fuck can't you make it? You know what I mean? So she was just like, yeah, she's like, I see old black men on the jury pool, she was like, I get them the fuck out of there. And I was like, man, that makes total sense. So yeah, the fact that she is making that comment, but at the same time thoroughly enjoying the Arrested Development when it was on TV, not the Netflix reissue. Let me be clear.
For the record.
This is the original pressing.
So after the minstrel show doesn't do what Atlantic had hoped, and maybe after, like, you know, that wave was coming to an end, how did you know it was all right to move forward?
I knew it was all right to move forward when, you know, because again, we just talk about like what your token is. At that point, my thing was, let's just get off of the label. So we had signed a 3-album deal with ABB. First album was The Listening. Second album was The Minstrel Show, which kind of rolled over into the Atlantic deal. And then once the Atlantic deal ended, we had one more album left, and it was Get Back. And so at that time, man, I was just like, you know what? Once this album comes out, we're done. Like, we're free. Like, I'm free forever. And, you know, that was just kind of the thing that just kept me going. I was like, man, now I can finally make music without any label interference, and I can kind of see what's like for me. So after that, we did Get Back in 2007. That completed the contract.
Were you all on the same page?
You know what, man? I don't think so. I'll be real with you. I mean, you know, not that I've been bullshitting this whole time. Everything I've been saying is a fucking lie.
You didn't play football?
right. I didn't play football. I was into Kylie Minogue, actually. No, dude, seriously. Like, I think that was, and I won't speak for Pooh, but me and him had this conversation like years ago where I think he was more of a person that was like, well, maybe I would give it a try at another label. I would give it another, you know, if another label's talking, maybe I'll see what's up. And after Atlantic, I was adamant, like, fuck this shit. We can do this shit ourselves. Like, fuck another, like, dude, I don't care. And so I think for a while, but specifically between me and him, I think that kind of may have been a bone of contention. Like, just that I kind of spoke for the group, you know what I mean? And I did apologize to him for that. I was like, man, you know, I'm sorry for kind of, you know, being overbearing in that way, but, you know, that was just where I was at the time, and I'm sorry I didn't consider your feelings on it. And you know, man, but that was where it was. And so after we finished that, we did a Get Back, and that completed the contract. So then after that, me and my buddy Zoe, who is the musical director for the Foreign Exchange, when we toured, my man Zoe, me and him did the Zoe and Tigolo Love the 80s record. And that was just us just having fun, like covering songs that we like.
You don't have to report to an A&R. You don't have to worry about any executives.
All.
This was, yeah.
And it was just something we did, just like limited pressing, and, you know, and we just did it. We did it on our own. And so from that point, that we saw that was successful. And so then that kind of rolled over into me and Nicolay, my partner in Foreign Exchange. We did Leave It All Behind. And actually this year marks 10 years of FE Music. That was when we started our own label, FE Music, and we put out Leave It All Behind at the end of 2008, and we were nominated for a Grammy.
Which you expected.
Right. I totally saw that coming. Totally saw it coming.
So how did you know you were ready to do your own solo record?
Man, I think it just got to a point where my first album, once we finished Get Back, and then I did the 80s record with Zoe, and that did really well, and then I did Leave It All Behind, and we got like a fucking Grammy for it. I was like, holy shit, like I didn't see, we got nominated rather.
Right. And
so then we did another Foreign Exchange album, we did Authenticity in 2011, and so at that time, man, Authenticity was 2010, but so at that time, man, I just was like, okay, what haven't I done? And the only thing I hadn't done at that point was do a solo record. So
in terms of music, that was the only thing you hadn't
done. That was one of the few things I hadn't done. I was like, I haven't done my own solo record yet. And to be honest, I mean, even now, man, like I say this all the time, and people, they don't believe me. Dude, I had no desire to go solo. Like I never had that moment of, oh man, I can't wait until this. Dude, I couldn't give two shits about that. Like I never cared. It was something that I much more enjoyed, like working, within a group, and just kind of like I always saw myself more so as just kind of being in service of other things. You know what I'm saying? Like helping like write for and produce other artists, and just kind of, one of my biggest influences was always from a production standpoint, and just what he did with his career, was Eric Sermon. Mm-hmm. He was somebody that I always liked, because he was someone who his influence shone through, and he would come through, he'd kick his verses and stuff, but what he did for Keith, what he did for Redman, what he did, like, it's like I love that, man. And that was kind of how I always saw myself. Just, you're gonna shine, but let that shine through other people. You know what I mean? Like, give other people that really want to do that, put the battery in their back and let them go. You know what I mean? And so I had no interest in doing a solo record, but it just got to that point. I was like, you know what? Let me at least kind of do one for the history books, right? And
you had something to say.
Yeah, I felt like I had something to say. I was like, all right, well, fuck it. Let's just do it. And so I did it, and it went really well. And then people were like, oh, so when's the next one? I was like,
7 years from now.
Yeah. Like, next. Like, that was kind of it. Like, I didn't really, And so, yeah, I mean, dog, so even with this record, with the new records out now, No News Is Good News, that was something that had been marinating for a while, and I worked on it off and on for like 2-3 years, and then my life just kind of went haywire for a minute, and then I was like, well, you know what? I had a break off from taping Questlove Supreme, and so I was like, you know what? I got like a week, and I'm just gonna finish this shit. Come hell or high water, I'm finishing this fucking record. So like the first half of the record was like I said, a period of like 2-3 years, and then the last half was done in a week. So,
well, how close? Because you announced it back in 2016. Yeah. So, like, how close was it to being done for you at that time? Like, were you like, oh, you want to know what? Like, I can do this, and then like life just hit.
Yeah. Oh man, it was life hit. So I made the mistake. I totally did. So this was the idea, but I fucked up. So I totally sold the skin before I killed the bear, right? So the idea was, me and Nick were talking, I was just like, yo, man, we kind of be on some Marvel shit. Like, how Marvel be just popping up like, yo, Black Panther 2, summer 2022. You know what I mean? And it's just like, they ain't got note the fucking first, but it's just like, motherfucker, it's coming. It's like, oh, shit. 4 years from now, if I'm still alive, I can see Black Panther 2. So I was like, yo, what if we start treating our records like that? And he was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And for a while, it fucking worked. So we announced at the beginning of the year, we had 3 projects lined up. And so the first project was Zoe, his record, Skybreak, which I pretty much like co-wrote, co-produced everything on that with the exception of 2 songs. And so it was his record. And then it was Tigolero, which was a collaboration album between me and my man Eric Roberson. And so at that time when we made the announcement, Zoe's album was probably like 8 songs in. Tigolero was maybe like 2, but I knew I had time, you know what I mean? And then my album, I had maybe just like a couple sketches here and there. But I was just like, I know I got time or whatever. I can get it done. And I was working. And then all of a sudden, man, like life just started lifing like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So like my dad died. My dad and my granddad died in the same week.
Which is just...
Yeah, like days.
A lot. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, man. So they died. Then, the end of the year, my uncle got killed. Then it was, me and my lady, we bought a house. Then it was the breaks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was writing all the rhymes for that. Then, Amir's business manager, Sean, calls me. He's like, hey, man, so we're going to be doing this podcast. We want to bring you on. You down? I'm just like, I guess so. Yeah, cool. And Questlove Supreme starts. So, like, all this. Oh, and then for a moment I was working with, this guy's Bass Thomas, the guys that wrote How I Met Your Mother. They had a show for a little bit that they were pitching. It was a music-based show, and they wanted to bring me on as a consultant producer for that, and like to do rhymes and stuff for that. And the show didn't get picked up, but for a minute that was the thing. So I was having meetings with them.
And the HBO show.
The HBO show. Okay, so the HBO show I shot that, and
that was Diallo and
Brothers in
Bashir.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a show called Brothers in Atlanta, which, for the most part, I mean, it was kind of like adult contemporary Atlanta. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like
a little smoother. Yeah,
but it was still
grown and
funny.
sexy.
Yeah.
Hard bottoms only. Right?
Yeah, hard bottoms only Atlanta, baby. But the shit was funny. It was funny. It was edgy. It was funny. And so we shot that pilot in like 2015, and then 2016 they came and they were like, "Yep, it's a go." And then like a couple months later, they was like,
It was
"Nah,
not a go."
Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So all that shit was going on. So so like life just happened, and that was just a point where I was like, "Man." I had to just throw my hands up, like, dude, I can't. I can't do it. So then 2017 rolled around, and we were in the thick of we weren't doing. I think was that the breaks then. I think we were still. Well, no, we weren't.
That was when the breaks was in like
it was going
back and forth with
BET.
BET.
Yeah.
Arrested Development.
Right. Our new fall lineup. So 2017, like shit was real. That was when I got married. Me and my lady got married, and so it's all the business of planning a wedding and doing all that. And then it was just shit. My mother had a heart attack in 2017, and that was like at the top of 2017. So dude, it was really just one of those things where just life. Like the lesson I learned over those years is just surrender.
Yeah.
You just have, sometimes it's just like, you know what, you just have to put up the brakes. And it was something I really felt bad about, because I had always delivered to my audience. I'd always, I've never pump faked on no shit before. You know what I mean? If I say I'm gonna do it, it's gonna come out. And I always never missed a date. In all my, I've never missed a date. And that was just one of those times I was like, man,
one of those
out of my hands.
It's about like 10 of those times.
Right.
It's out of your control.
Yeah. And so finally I was just like, well, you know what, man? At the top of this year, I was like, well, we had this time off from QLS. I said, man, I'm not carrying this shit with me into fucking into March of 2018. I said, me and my partner Nicola, we sat down. I was like, look, man, I have this crazy idea. So if you think it's too crazy, just please talk me off the ledge if you think I'm going too far. I said, look, man, I think we can do it March 2nd. That's the date I'm aiming for. And he was just like, all right. And we wrote it down. And I said, just come hell or high water, and the album will be out March 2nd. And he was like, all right. And that was it.
I feel like we have to wrap up in a second.
Yeah,
but
so just a few quick things.
Sure, man.
So on the cover of your 80s covers album, was that the original wig that you went with?
That was the original wig.
Okay.
That was the original wig. We wetted it up, you know what I'm saying, with some good old activator.
Yeah.
And I found that, where did I buy that wig? I think I bought that wig from like a costume shop in Raleigh. And that was the original wig. I knew I wanted like the shoulder length curl, like the Stoney Jackson curl, and then like Zoe, he had the Howard Rollins in the Heat of the Night curl. Like, he had the short curl. You know what I mean? And so that was, to express the duality of us.
Let me get my James Lipton on. Can I talk to Percy Miracles?
Man, Percy. Okay, I will let this be known. So Percy may be making a reemergence.
All right.
In another one. He may be coming back. I got some things in the works.
People do come to our podcast for breaking news.
That's right.
There it is. He may be. He will probably be coming back in another form. But I'm really excited to do it.
How many times a day do people hit you up and beg for Little Brother to reunite?
I hit it a lot.
You see
I
it?
get, oh God,
Yeah.
I hit it all the time.
Yeah.
But it used to be something that really bothered me, but I just realized that that's just something that it really struck a chord in people's hearts. You know what I mean? And it's like, the same fire, what's it say, though, the fire that cooks your food, burn down your house. It's like, it is what it is. It's like, that fire that made people just so fervently buy your records and come to your shows and all that. I mean, that fire doesn't get extinguished just because you stop doing it. You know what I mean? It's still there. So I respect that, and I've come to just accept that as a part of my life and of my story that people will always ask for. And you know, it's something I don't have an interest in doing. I think me, Pooh, and Ninth, we've all talked, and my main thing was just really just repairing our friendship. Because as we were talking earlier, you know, I mean, me and Ninth, like he was my homeboy before I ever even knew he made beats. Pooh was my homeboy before I ever knew he rapped. He was just my homie that I kick it with in between classes in the English building. We sit outside and bullshit and just talk shit. And then I found out he rhymed like a year later. You know what I mean? So that was just what it was, man. And so yeah, I've made my peace with it. It's not like a touchy subject or nothing. It's just, that's just a part of my legacy and just a part of, you know, what made me. That's the foundation that started everything, and I just accept it.
Yeah, it was like the end of The Sopranos. Just,
you know what I mean? It's
just went to black.
Yeah.
When was the last time you spoke to Drake?
The last time I spoke, okay, first off, me and Drake have never had a phone conversation. Never. We've never had a phone conversation.
Do you have to tell his phone numbers?
I'm sure this shit done changed 8 times since the last time I had it.
Right.
I had his number. It was in 2011, and this is when me and Ninth had reconnected and we had started working again. And he had sent me and Ninth were just talking, and all of a sudden, like, I just get this text message like, "Yo, Tay, like, you like my favorite rapper, man, of all time, and, you know, I fuck with you, whatever. You know, this is Drake." What I was like,
by the way, that's a good Drake.
You're right. Good Drake. Thank you. Yeah. I was like, dude, I was like, what? And so I hit Ninth. I was like, yo, man, is somebody fucking with me? Is this real? He was like, nah, I'll tell you, it's really him. That's really him. I was like, okay. So I shouted him back, and I was like, yo, well, thanks, man. And he was like, yo, I got this record. I want to get you on, whatever. And so this was supposed to be for Take Care, I want to say. This is the Take Care album. And it was a record that he had, and he sent me just the track. And track was crazy, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna be going in on this record, whatever. I was like, okay, cool, let's go in. So I did my 16 and sent it back to him, and, you know, don't hear nothing back, like nothing. I'm like, yo, did you get the record? Yeah, man, I got it. It's dope. It's cool. I love it. You know, I'm like, okay, well, just let me know when you need next or whatever. I mean, that was it. And so yeah, so I never heard anything back from it. And he later, I think he was in an interview or something, he saw, like, I think something happened with that beat, and what I think, I forgot the name of the song, but the song on Take Care, I think it was the one that Just Blaze did. I think that's the one that ended up replacing what we were gonna do, because it had kind of that same kind of energy of the one that we did.
So we're mad at Just.
No. It wasn't Just. I think Just was the one that saved the day. I'll tell you who the producer was off mic. I'll tell you who it was that kind of fucked it up. But yeah, it wasn't Just saved the day.
Yeah.
But we never collabed, and so we just would kind of text here and there. But that was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, it's just one of those things. Like a little brother thing, people ask, when you and Drake gonna do it? I'm like, dude, I have no idea. Like,
just
I don't know.
it. Yeah, just do it.
Because it's totally on me, right? You know what I mean? So nah, dude. I mean, it's another one of those things. Like, you know, I'm just glad that, you know, there's a younger artist that, you know, gives me, you know, the recognition as an influence. You know, it's just as I bigged up all the cats that were before me.
For sure.
And, you know, I just, I make my records and I keep it moving.
Well,
I have one last.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah. Tell me about The Color Purple.
Oh shit. Okay, man. So Color Purple. All right. So Color Purple. All right. So this is back in 85, motherfucker. I was 6 years old. And okay. So me and my mother, we were living with my grandmother. My grandmother lived in Robeson County. It's a town called Red Springs, North Carolina. And so this is maybe 45 minutes from south of the border. Right. It all comes full circle.
Yeah,
Time is a flat circle.
Yep.
So, dude, my uncle at the time, my Uncle Mike, God rest his soul, he was working at this community college in Anson County, which is a county, like a couple counties over, maybe like an hour or so. And he was working at the community college as a financial aid officer. And that was where the auditions were being held. And so he gave us a call, and he was like, yo, they're having auditions for this movie. And, you know, they just having everybody just come out and audition. And we was like, all right, cool. And so we went and auditioned. We drove down. And I remember it was in, like, the summer. And it was fucking hot. And so I went in. And I remember at the time, the code name for the movie was Moon Song. So that was just kind of the working title. They were just calling it Moon Song. And I mean, again, this is pre, Twitter and all this shit. So I mean,
yeah,
the online hive mind would have figured that shit out. It was Color Purple like way before. But you know what I'm saying? But at the time we just knew it as Moon Song. And so I went in, I had to audition. And I remember my audition. I was 6 years old, and I remember it was me against this 9-year-old girl, and she was like tall. And so the audition was you were hungry and you had to tell your parent like to make you a jam sandwich. You were hungry and you were angry. You were hangry. It was the original hangry. Yeah. So it was like, make me some jam. I'm hungry. And and the guy, the casting director, Reuben Cannon, he was like, oh, but I'm doing the best I can. I don't care. Maybe give me some jam. I'm hungry. And so I did my audition, and I was kind of like, all right. And then the girl did her audition. She was scary for real. Like, give me some jam. I'm hungry.
She was method. She was actually hangry.
Yeah, no, I think she might have been. Like, seriously. I was like, yo, I don't think she acting. So, dude, I was like, I walked out of that shit just thinking I blew it. I was like, man, I couldn't fuck with her. And so a couple weeks go by, and we come home to my grandmother's house, and my grandmother's phone was ringing, and we got home. It was a little late that night, I remember. And we were just sitting. I was in the den, and the phone was in the next room. My mother picked it up. And she picks up the phone, she answers it, and then all of a sudden I hear this screaming. And like, I knew it wasn't like tragic, like somebody died, Black mama screaming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like happy screaming. I was like, what the fuck did happen? And so she called me, she was like, you got a role in The Color Purple. And I was just like, okay. I'm 6, right?
Yeah.
But I remember, again, I'm just putting it together, and I remember at that time the book was everywhere. So like my aunt, my aunts and my grandmother, they were both school teachers. And my grandfather, he was a school teacher as well. So our house was always filled with books. And The Color Purple was a book I remember seeing, like, all over the house. Like, my aunt would read it and my grandmother read it and stuff. And so I was like, oh, so they're making, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, so they're making, is this that book that I see everybody reading? They're making a movie out of this book? Like, I was like, all right. I'm just figuring out as best I could. So next day we drove down, man, and I was on set for maybe like a week, and I was an extra, and yeah, dude. I mean, it was weird because like you do it, and then when the movie came out, I remember my mom picking me up from school early to go see it, and then that was when I finally put it together. Like, oh, this was a movie. Like, oh shit. So that was when it all clicked for me of what I had been a part of, and so man, like the local newspaper, they did like a write-up on me and was just like, local youngster in Spielberg movie. And, I had like a little dollar I had made. I took a picture with it.
Danny Glover was your father?
Yo, okay, dude, so check it out. Danny Glover story. There's a picture, and like I have it. I don't think I have it on this phone, but I have it. I can email you guys. There's a picture of all the kids in the group. So, because in the movie, again, I'm 6 years old, and I'm just seeing this big motherfucker just beating the shit out of these women. Like, just the king of abuse.
Yeah, right.
And so, I'm like, looking at shit, I'm like, yo. So, there's a picture of all the kids in the cast. Like, Danny Glover's in the middle. He's, like, laughing, like, the biggest fucking smile. Like, everybody's laughing. All the kids are hanging over him, just laughing and shit. And I'm on the end, like, fuck that. Like, I'm scared as y'all. Like, nah, I don't trust that. Fuck that. It's so hilarious, and I'll send you guys. But nah, it was an experience, man. I met Danny. I remember meeting Oprah. Me and Oprah met at the deli tray. I remember that.
Crazy.
I remember Steven Spielberg. He was married at the time. He was married to Amy Irving, and that was when Amy Irving had first given birth to their son Max. And I remember she was breastfeeding, and I remember like I had never seen. Yeah, I'm like, yo, why is this white woman got her titties out? And I was pointing to my mom. I was like, boy, don't you point? I was like, Mama, she got her titty out. She's like, what you pointing? Yeah, like you ain't seen no damn titties before. Like my mother was like, totally, she gave no.
By the way, she didn't know that later on, all you would see at that law firm is titties.
Listen, mastectomized titties, brother. So yeah, man, it was her and Danny. I remember meeting him. But yeah, it was a crazy experience, man. And it's just something that, again, it's. You never thought would happen, and you never think that you're a part of something that historic. But yeah, it was a crazy experience.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations on this new album, and congratulations on your whole amazing career.
Hey, man, I feel like I'm just getting started, dude. Like, it's crazy. I really do.
It's an honor to have one of the all-time great rappers up here, and it's really an honor to have one of the all-time great rapping bananas up here. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think I get the GOAT now. People put me in the GOATs of like rapper. I mean, listen, that's your opinion. When it comes to rapping bananas, I'm the fucking guy. I'm number one. Fuck anybody else.
You gotta start like using the emoji. Just like
exactly.
Yo, thanks so much for coming through.
Oh man, thank y'all for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks everyone for listening to this new episode of A Waste of Time with It's The Real Jeff. If people want to find out more about us, I'm Eric, you're Jeff. We are It's The Real. If people want to find out more about this podcast, it's called A Waste of Time with It's The Real. And if people want to know where we're performing, what we're selling, what we're doing, what we look like, where can they go?
You can always find us at itsthereal.com, ITSTHEREAL.com. No apostrophes, no spaces, because there are never any apostrophes or spaces in It's The Real. You can always listen to all of our old episodes and new on SoundCloud.com/awasteoftime, or go to iTunes and search for A Waste of Time with It's The Real. You can also listen to our music, which is for play at Spotify, at Apple Music, at Google Play, at Tidal, at Pandora. Any place that you want to listen to it, it is there. You can even add it to your station head station.
People should definitely do that.
Yeah, you can listen to Teddy Bear Fresh on any streaming platform.
And by the way, that song Sugar High with us and Currency and Smoke DZA, it's about to pass 600,000 plays on Spotify.
No big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Pretty big deal.
I think it's a big deal.
All right. And then you can also follow us on any social media at It's The Real. That's Twitter at It's The Real, Facebook at It's The Real, Instagram at It's The Real. We're also on Snapchat. Someone added me on Snapchat today.
Is that right?
It's The Real.
We're still there?
Yeah. And then you can also find us on Twitch at It's The Real, It's The Real.
Well, you know what? Twitch is popping, right?
Twitch is popping.
Drake played on Twitch?
Yeah, Drake and Travis Scott were on Fortnite. I don't know what Fortnite is.
What's Drake's name and what's Travis Scott's name?
It's Dudus or something.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
So It's The Real isn't so crazy.
No.
All right. Jeff, you know this podcast is not going anywhere. Not getting any bigger, not doubling our audience, not getting in new ear holes anywhere unless you guys spread the word. We do our part. We spread the word on a daily basis. We're just asking you guys to tell friends, family, and your fans about our podcast, A Waste of Time with It's The Real, and we know that it starts right here, and we like to shout out all you guys. Jeff, who would you like to shout?
I want to shout out a few people because obviously.
Yeah.
And so I want to start off with Yo from DJ Booth.
There you go.
And I also want to, I had the best conversation with him. I had so much fun talking to him.
Yeah.
I also want to shout out Kalechi and the whole Kalechi Collective.
Okay.
That includes Yukon and Midtown Nate.
Nice.
And Young Chop.
Yes.
And everybody who's involved in that circle. And I also want to shout out everybody from Audio Mac. We had the best time at their house, and
that's Joe Vango and Kim Chanel and everybody who was there.
Yeah, I just had such a good time down at South by Southwest, and it was really nice to see people who I don't normally get to see.
Yeah, Jeff, I want to shout out Ian, who we ran into at the Action Bronson StubHub event. Ian came up to us and was like, "Yo, you guys have an amazing platform, and I appreciate everything that you do."
Yeah, Ian was like a super devoted listener,
and you know what? We couldn't have been any more appreciative. He was just awesome having a conversation with that guy. And he had two friends
one who had listened to a few episodes.
Okay.
And one who had never listened to any episodes.
Great dudes.
But at the end of the night, we'd been talking to them for probably like an hour.
Okay.
And by the end of it, all three had been with us since the beginning of our career.
Super fans. But overall, Jeff, I know you're right here with me. We want to shout out Amir Abbasi, Mike Shahade, Nur Ozdemir, Oz Cohen, Carly Hustle, Dom Maldonado, Jersey Jinx, Rember Brown, Andrea, Hip Hop Mike, Dan Rice, Eric Sunderman, Andrew Barber, Naomi Zeichner, Yo, Law Parker, the guys from Mini Hip Hop Museum, Ogden Payne, Johnny Nunez, Trinidad James, 24 Hours, DJ Enough, Peter Caden, Wave Chappelle, Jazz One, Kalechi, Yukon, Midtown Nate, Josh Gonzalez, Ani, Javier Martinez.
You got a new beer?
Joe Vango, Kim Chanel, Coldway, Trent Clark, Ninth Wonder, Rhapsody, Jay Worthy, Mark Breezy, The Ted, From Apple, Rob Stone at Fader, Greg Noir, Ivan, Mario Luigi, Dwight Lazarus, Humble King Cliff, Young Mateo, and a million other people. Now for real. Sure. We'll see you guys next week.